Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. Drink. Indeed. That thing was born when I was born in 1969. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to this live show. And we will start the show. So let me just position this properly. We will tonight go back to the original purpose of the Wednesday show. And the Wednesday show will be always dedicated to education, learning something about our hobby. And we've got there's a email that I got from a longtime fan that never writes really. He wrote, oh yeah, on air. I forgot. Thanks, Brian. I forgot. Give me 2 seconds here without breaking anything. I will illuminate the on-air sign. It's a must. Let me just go here and plug it in. How could I forget? How could I forget? So here is the plug. Put this in here. Put this in here. And of course, we are going to plug in the on-air sign. Here we go. Here we go. How could I forget? Okay, let's go back here. So let's make sure that everything is all right. And the look. Here we go. Here we go. Don't mind the computer is rebooting, I believe. Let's make sure that this is all right. And let's just put the window back properly. What's that? This is on. That's my camera tripod for my phone. Let's take that out of the way. And we have on the air. I am on the air. Let's make sure that things are okay. We'll log in here, try to start the SDR at the same time. There we go. So welcome aboard, everybody. Always nice to have you here. And a little bit of, they're not very bright on the camera, but little Christmas lights as we are starting to have Christmas in here. Might as well. So don't look at the room, guys, because I'm still in a big mess with the boxes, as you see here, and the wires. But we have our famous Paul the cat right there taking a nap. So that is the representation of how relaxed we should be when we are just taking it easy. So gives you an idea, guys. Okay. Now let's put this back here. Let me just make sure that this is all right. So we have, like I said, it's a lot of questions. So it's not going to be tonight that we're going to answer all of them. From somebody called Robert McNear, and he's in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And he sent in, so he's not a big participant. He's not in a chat room, but he loves to watch the show. He is a long time Shortwave listener. He gives in his email a lot of details, and we're going to go into that. I'm just going to start the show, and we're going to actually check it out. And he said that he would be listening for sure. I told him that I would answer some of the questions today, and that we'll go through the questions. So he said that he was going to watch tonight for sure. So hope that he's going to be happy with some of the answers. So this is the live Shortwave show. We are here live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, twice a week on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 0 hours Universal Time. We are also live on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours Universal Time. And we, of course, talk about radio in general, everything about radio. I mean, we are radio geeks, and we're here to exchange and have fun with radio, basically. We are, of course, live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles, and we've been doing this for what? For quite a while now. I've been doing the live show since something like 19, not 19, but 2012, 2013, something like that, 2013. Time flies. I mean, I was not expecting to be live and do live shows like this for so many years. And I was not even, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you don't expect in life. It's not the kind of thing that, I always say as a joke, is, well, somebody told me in 1985, hey, you're going to do a live show on some platform someday where, people are going to watch from all over the world. And you're going to talk about shortwave radio. I would have told you probably get the hell out of here for several reasons. In 1985, I would have probably said, nah, that's never going to happen in my lifetime. And the other part is, yeah, right, I'm going to talk in front of an audience. Like, it's, yeah, right. So anyways, it's fun, and it's so surprising. When you start to do stuff, it's so surprising, everything that comes with it. It started when I did my tech guy duties. When I did my tech guy duties, I, started pushing myself to the world and to other people and in people's lives and their homes, small businesses. It made me do and meet people that I never taught. I met the Prime Minister of the province of Quebec back then. I met tons of known people that are in the TV business, radio business here in Quebec. Things that you don't think so. You think you're going to just go and fix computers of very ordinary people. And then you get thrown into a world that you realize when you do something in life, you get much more than you think. When you push instead of being carried, Somebody was telling me one day that he thought that was just perfect because in French, I had told him, I said, you have two choices in life. You have the choice of you push to get what you want and do what you want, or you get carried around by society doing what they want you to do. And it's two very different worlds. And when you push to do stuff, you end up meeting and doing things that you never imagined would happen. When you get carried around, you kind of get a rather simple life in general because you're not trying to do something. And it's all right. I mean, in life, we need people that get carried around to do what we want them to do, or else nobody would be at McDonald's selling us a burger. And there are people that are there to push and do stuff. And that's why we have some amazing things around us, because somebody somewhere had an idea, had a way of thinking, and they decided, you know what, I'm going forward, I'm doing this, and this is, it's going to bring me somewhere, or it's going to do something. And of course, a lot of people fail. That's the hard part of doing what you want. And some people succeed. And that's, it's a mix of different things. I think in a business, it's a mix of having a good idea, doing it right, and a little bit of luck mixed in. Not just, I look at the friend of mine that opened a restaurant, and he opened the restaurant a year ago. Well, he's in the middle of the restaurants are closed. So in that case he had customers. It was nice. But there's no one now because the restaurants are closed because of COVID. That's the luck part. Unfortunately, it wasn't on his side. So, you got to do a lot of stuff. And like I said, I never thought that I would have been doing this today. It's just crazy. And I'm happy to be here. I met great people in person. So I met a couple of people that are here regularly in person, which is really cool. And I'm probably going to meet some of you that we never met before someday. And without, meeting in person, well, I think I made also a lot of friends over everywhere around the world with what I do, and just having fun with it. And that's why we have the Facebook group, and the chat room is amazing. If you have, things to ask, if you have questions, this is a great place. And if you want to continue the party after this is all over, when the live show happens, we are live. There's a Facebook group, official SWL channel, where you can continue people posting what they listen to. It's really a great gang. I approved someone about half an hour ago, so we're at 1,310 subscribers to the Facebook group, which is nice. And continuing. So, you know what? It's pretty cool, and it's nice to see everybody, and it's nice to be here to do this. Share the knowledge. Like I always say, I would have loved in 1982 that some guy would have be doing this live show so I could understand a little more of my hobby. Then again, there's a side of the mysteriousness of the hobby that I think is kind of cool also at the same time, But it's fun to be here, and hope that everybody enjoys the show today. So my drink for tonight is cranberry juice and vodka. So cheers, everybody. And it's minus 4 degrees Celsius tonight. Supposed to drop down to minus 9 Celsius. So it's kind of cool outside. We had a little bit of snow yesterday. Nothing that, stayed on the ground, but, it made me install the Christmas lights here. My office isn't finished because I kind of organized the living room first, just in case. And now we're going to focus here on trying to put all this back together into a organized and well, thought out place. I probably am still thinking of possibly putting the right here in the back ICOM ACR 8500 and the Yaesu FT450. This is going to be like the big radio place. The desk on the other side is going to be different. I think I'm going to use that desk for the old classic computers. I was looking at how I could position things. So I have the Commodore computer, the Atari 1040 ST, the Amiga 500, and they're going to be all three here. I'm going to use the 32-inch Sony TV to display those old computers. And I think that's going to be the retro gaming side, where there's going to be the old computers. And I think that could be cool. And, I have this weird fantasy of maybe reactivating my old computer museum channel, but in a different way. Focusing a little more on those old machines and maybe having like history of old computers and stuff. I look at how popular it was at some point, and I still get the comments and the messages from time to time from that old channel. So maybe I should reactivate it. It's not monetized because it hasn't reached the it has enough subscribers, but it has not reached because there's not enough view. It doesn't fit the 4,000 hours of view in the past year to actually be monetized. So I think maybe by reactivating it and doing some videos of old computers and talking about them, maybe we could, revitalize the old computer museum channel and add that to the monetization of what I do. And we'll see. But I think that could be real cool. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the show. Thursday for a lot of you, because a lot of you are around the world. Here it's in North America, it's still Wednesday evening. But in a lot of the world, it's Thursday night or Thursday morning. So welcome, everybody. It's nice to be here. Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL. Nice to have you here from Morgan City, Louisiana, USA. Shitty Pyro 90. Nice to have you on board from Courtenay, BC, British Columbia, Canada. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario, and damn cold. And his listener call sign is VE3055SWL. Matt from Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you here. Color Radio. Nice to have you here. And says, I called C-Crane, but they do not have any answers yet to what? What answers do you want? Color Radio. As for the Wi-Fi radio, maybe? James Johnson, nice to have you on board. And yes, that radio is a radio that was built in 1969, the year I was born. So I guess we're growing old together. Still working great. Joseph, nice to have you here. Joseph Hickenbaum from San Francisco Bay Area, 16 degrees Celsius, starting band scans. Yeah. Of the Dawn, nice to have you here. Augustin Bernard, hello, hello, hello. MDK2, Mixed Radio International on 6914 upper sideband. Let's try it out. I'm going to start the SDR. I just finished upgrading this machine because this machine is an insider preview for Windows. And I need to have it working with the latest updates for to of course, my Windows Insider audience on the Windows Insider channel. And let's start the SDR. And let's try it out and see if we can hear Mixed Radio International 6914. What else do we have? Of the Dawn just ate soup, cheese, Mexican cornbread. Cool. I just had salmon and shrimp kind of a flaky pastry type thing. Okay, this is 2598 with the weather, Canadian weather 2598 6914. Anything there? Unfortunately, nothing for me over there. And a lot of interference from what I see. So nothing here on 1614. Randy, Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Brian Penny. Nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Augustin Bernard. Yes, new studio layout because, and it's not over because I'm still using this week the old USB microphone. I got a console with the Shure microphone there. That's going to be that. Hopefully by Saturday, this is going to be set up, and I'll have the audio and everything driven through that, because I am in a big mess of boxes and stuff because of all the things that have been happening here in the past few weeks. So nice to have you here, Brian Penny. Eyebrawler, nice to have you here from Arkansas. Joe from Newmarket, Virginia. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? The Don says, like, subscribe, and share. Yes, that's what we have to do. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here. Oh, the Don, what was the video thing about? Nothing bad. Nothing bad. Nothing interesting. It's an old rant from a guy in Finland that is convinced that I must have been cheating on YouTube to be popular like I am. When in reality, all he doesn't understand is that you just do content. You just can't game YouTube. YouTube, just as an example, anybody that gets monetized, never click your own ads, never look at your own ads, because it just takes 3 or 4 and they actually ban you for life. And you cannot cheat in any way. They know. They know. You cannot even use a VPN. You might say, oh, I'm going to use VPNs. I'm going to be okay. No, even that doesn't work. They know. They're not, Google isn't stupid. So, anything that can, you might want to think about cheating is impossible. And so, and it's sad because it's somebody that, instead of taking his time to create content and continue in what he was doing, has started to go crazy because he thinks that because I was more popular than him, there must be something wrong. And in reality is, well, I just am not an asshole. I'm not a guy that bashes on everybody else. I'm not the guy that tells people they're stupid, because that's the way he's treating people. He's treating people. I got so many messages from other YouTubers that do radio stuff that say, that guy kind of made me feel bad and small because I feel stupid from one of his videos. Well, you don't do that. That is trash. When you have to belittle other people in your own videos, come on, So anyways, he's a Finnish idiot that got frustrated because I was more popular than him, and stopped making videos, and ended up doing a video that is, kind of a fake news video about me, and that's pretty much it. And I will not extend any more time on this. I've had enough time devoted to that idiot anyway. WF7I Umbru, nice to have you here from the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. 34 Fahrenheit outside, and clear night with stars in the Milky Way. Wow. Bob Perrin, nice to have you here, Bob. And what's Grohl? I don't know what Grohl is. David Williamson, nice to have you on board. So Mr. Paul, as you guys seen, is sleeping in the chair just behind the camera. Joe Sambranuas, nice to have you here, my friend from Brazil. We all do multitasking. James says, I like the little shelf with all the radios. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool to put all the little radios one next to each other. And anyways, I was not having enough space everywhere to put the radios. I needed another space for radios. Jim, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Augustin Bernard, Atari 2600 controller. Yes, you've seen that somewhere? Yeah, I guess it was probably there somewhere on the top next to the World Radio TV handbook. Yeah, I use them for the Atari and the Commodore computer and even the Amiga. They're all the same. Brian Penny, yeah, Paul found this sweater. Absolutely. It's so funny because I cleaned the sweater and I cleaned my hoodie. When it's super clean out of the dryer, he goes on the chair, smells it, comes back down and looks like, nope, not interested. But if I wore it for a couple of days and I put it on the chair, he goes up, smells it, and says, yep, perfect. That's what I want. So I guess what he's looking for is comfortable, a comfortable shirt or sweater. And I guess it has to have my smell in it for him to be happy. I don't know. Oh, God. Page Master, nice to have you here from Moore, Oklahoma. KC5VOY. That's his amateur call sign. WA5136SWL is the shortwave call sign. What else do we have? David Williamson, you're not having enough beer. That is what's making you forget. What else do we have? What else do we have? So Randy says, hello, Paul. Jetcrafter, nice to have you on board from cold Maine. ChemXC76, nice to have you on board from Michigan, 41 Fahrenheit. Jim says, really liking the MLA30. I bought it based on your reviews. I mean, when it's noisy where you are, I think it's the best bet. Ricardo Silva, nice to have you on board from a very late Portugal. Nice to have you here. 58 in Albertville, Alabama. Chilly 26 in the Russian Valley tonight. Man. Kind of cool. Matt says the sun has set in Denver, but it's 66 Fahrenheit. Wow. Pretty warm. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts, playing tonight with a vintage Panasonic table radio. Sony Dream Machine. I got at a local Goodwill. Amazing tuners, amazing cheap fun. You know, that is something that is always cool. Going somewhere, not knowing what you're going to get, and you end up getting a radio, a cool old radio, or whatever cool electronic or whatever device for a couple of bucks, and you bring that home, and it's just so amazing because you can't wait. You know, I remember when I got the some of my tube radios. You know, I just couldn't wait to get home and plug that thing in and tune it and see if it works and try it out. I mean, it's just so cool. And these places are fun for that. We have a place here that I haven't gone in a long time that I need to go because actually the Commodore computer, a friend of mine has 3 Commodore 64. And I said, where do you got that? And he said, well, I went to, it's a place, it's like Goodwill. It's called Village des Valeurs here. And it is things that people donate or give away to that place. And they sell it back at a very low price. And I said, you got 3 Commodore 64 from where? He says, well, you know, I just go to Village des Valeurs every day. And there's a Commodore 64 that pops up from time to time, or an Atari or whatever. And you're like, wow, really? I need to go there more often. But you have to be there real early in the morning to get the stuff, the good stuff. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you on board. Mini Bike Man. Let me key up 6925. Oh, 6925. Let me just tune 6925. And if we hear something, I'll leave the volume just high enough. If we hear something, we're gonna hear it. Tom Bibish, nice to have you here from Ohio. James Johnson, nice to have you on board from the windy, cold North Florida. That reminds me of if you guys have Netflix and want to see a very, very well done documentary, it's Discovery. The name, I think, is Discovery: The Last Flight on Netflix. It's a four-part series on the explosion of the not Discovery, sorry, Challenger last flight. It's the it's a four-part series of the explosion of the Challenger shuttle in 1986. It's very well done, and they go through all the investigation, and you have the people from the time talking about how they felt and all of what happened and all of that, and really, really nice. So if you guys have Netflix and don't know what to do after the live show tonight and Shortwave is crappy, Challenger: The Last Flight on Netflix is very, very nice and very good to listen to. Douglas, nice to have you here. KC5ZUE popping in, said hello, and out again, poor connection. Oh, so sad. Nice to be on board. Oh, the Dawn says, I bet the show will be 5 hours tonight. Oh, God. I don't think it's going to be 5 hours, but who knows? James, I missed last week's show. Glad to catch tonight. Well, last week there was no show on Wednesday. Saturday and Wednesday didn't have any shows because all the things that I had to do. We're coming back this week to the regular schedule now. C1SC0MAN. Cisco Man. You posted a video about PL990X, and I asked questions. Will it receive better than my Radio Shack DX398? The question is very simple, is that it will not... Your DX398 probably gets the same signals, but what makes the PL990X superior is the audio quality and the more precise and fun tuning of single sideband. Anyways, the Sangean ATS909X, which is a modern version, if you want, of the Radio Shack DX398. These are the same radio, by the way. The Radio Shack DX398 is a Sangean ATS909, the original one. So what you saw there, if you find a PL990X perform better, then you got your answer, because it's the same radio roughly that you have with your Radio Shack DX398. Okay, here we go. James Johnson, tomato juice and vodka, my choice for tonight. Huh, cool. William Helms, nice to have you here from from Florida. Gonna be in the 50s tonight. That's winter for you. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. 57 degrees. Mini Bike Man says, got the Flex 3000 fired up. Dipole hanging in the backyard. Cool. What else do we have? Let me check it out here. Cisco Man says 80 meter opping last night. Ricardo Silva. Yes, retro gaming and computers are going in popularity. So maybe I need to restart that. I'm going to do a retro gaming side. Wiener Philharmoniker. Nice to have you here from Hamburg, Germany. Cisco Man is Tim from St. Louis, Missouri. Cool. Frank McCroskey. Ça va bien? Nice to have you here. What else do we have? And he's from Lower Alabama. Cool. WF7I Homebrew 6914, dead in Virginia. James Johnson has his mother's 1942 Zenith tabletop radio. It's outlived her. Wow. Crazy, eh? 45 unit. Nice to have you here. And it's a cool 72 degrees in Florida. It says the lighting is better in the new arrangement. Yeah, well, I'm trying to reposition the lights in a different way because I want to make sure that, first of all, because there's still, like that, and here you can see some reflection. That is what I'm trying to avoid in the near future. So you see the Christmas lights that are in the window, actually, here in the screen. So, but this is going to be a little different in the coming days. Hopefully this Saturday is going to be different, and it's going to be, we're trying to avoid all the reflections of lights, and it's something to build a kind of a streaming studio, because you got to think about everything, and you got to show how you can actually position stuff so that things look better. It's already, even before, in the past year, 2 years, it's already a million times better. If you go back to my original videos of live feeds that I did 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you look at them and you're like, wow, that's how I looked, because there was not sufficient lighting, and it was a very difficult thing. Over time, you build your experience and lighting and stuff, but I do have tons of lighting in the face here, which is kind of nice. It's like taking a suntan. What else do we have? Rufus says you need that SM58. What else do we have? The Wind 1960. Nice to have you on board from Central New York. Gary Seward, nice to have you here. WF7I Homebrew. I believe if anyone puts out serious effort and knows a topic well, they can see some success on YouTube. Maybe it won't be a viral sensation, but will still be significant subs, views. I think what's important to understand is that it's better to build something than be a viral sensation, because if you look at viral videos, what you'll see is that they had that viral video that was very popular, but then it comes down, hits the ground, and it's pretty flat forever after that. No channel with viral videos. Just look at all the viral videos of YouTube in the last 10 years. There's no channel that survived that we talk about today. We talk about that one viral video, nothing else. There's nothing else. Where building a brand, building a way of doing things is much more sustainable, because you're building something, people are following you, they want to see what you're going to do, what you're going to say. They are happy when you do live shows and whatever, and when you post videos. That is, on the long term, much better, because you keep growing. My channel here is growing. I have probably something like 50 or 60% more views now than last year. Same for my tech channel. My Windows channel is like 100. My Windows channel is close to 100% rise in views in 1 year. It's crazy. It goes in waves, like COVID. So you grow, you have a big wave because you talked about something or you did something that people want to see. But when you come down, you don't come down at the same level. You grow here. When it comes down, instead of going, if it was at this level, it grows. So you did something right. Comes down, but comes down here. It's a little higher. And then you'll talk about stuff or you do something, and then whoops, you'll have another peak because you just did something right. People want to see it. People are going crazy on those videos. Comes down, but doesn't come down at the same level. It comes down, but you're a little higher. And that's pretty much the way. It's kind of a wave, constant wave. But every time that wave hits, when you come down, you're always a little higher than you were before because you kept some of that audience. And so that's why you gotta, every week, you guys don't know what it is to be on YouTube and trying to grow channels and stuff. I'm a small YouTuber. For some of you, I might look like a big YouTuber. I'm not. I'm if I compare myself to what YouTube has to offer, I'm a very small YouTuber. But every week, it's like, okay, what can I do this week? What can I talk about? What can I say? What would make some great videos that would people want to see? Sometimes you go back, you look at what are the top 20 or top 30 videos on my channel? What do I talk about when I hit those really high peaks? And you try to build on that. It's kind of it's an interesting way of life, I gotta say. Falsrot, salutations, bienvenue VA2GCF. Et toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you on board with a new call sign. Cool. Nick, K9XN from Northwest Indiana. K6YYL, nice to have you here. Kimberly in California. What else do we have? James Johnson, last Friday, Ham was active from like 8 p.m. until about 12 a.m. Calls from all over the world. Amazing. It's fun. I like that. Marcos Antonio, are you thinking about doing a video with another radio channel? What do you mean? I don't understand the phrase. Are you thinking about doing a video with another radio channel? Oh, you mean another? Yeah, okay. Okay. Do you mean me talking about another, or maybe getting together with some other channel? If that's what you mean, that could be interesting. I never thought about that. That could be interesting to invite somebody from another radio channel to participate in some form of that could be interesting. I would see that more in a live show. Invite someone from another YouTube channel that does radio videos, and a live show, and ask him what drives him and why he likes and how he does stuff, and that could be interesting. Actually, I didn't think about that, but that is a great idea. Especially now that with the console I'm set up well, we could have the guest on the big screen, and that could be really nice. Have a kind of ask question, interview people with other radio channels. That is a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna think about that. How we're gonna do stuff. SoCal from San Diego, nice to have you here. Danielle White from Northwest Louisiana. Matt 6914 has grown faint. Pagemaster, General Radio Telephone Operator's License. Okay. I wondered what that was. What else do we have? Jeff King, lots of new names popping up. Cool. Good to see new people on his channel. Draco Chavez, nice to have you on board from California. Thomas Olson, nice to have you on board. And Paul is on duty as executive producer. Yep. As long as I don't goof up, he sleeps. But if I do something wrong, he stares at me with this like really bad stare saying, your job is on the line. It's so funny because there's this female cat that's been coming over, and she obviously doesn't have a home. And I called several places that take animals, and it's super complicated. I don't understand why it's complicated. Nobody's going to come over and pick her up. I have to take her to the place. It's super complicated. And so I don't know what to do. I'm trying to see what I could do. Winter's coming. In the summer, because she spent July, August, and September. It doesn't matter. It's summer. She's outside. It's okay. But the problem is now it's getting cold. It's going to be about -10 tonight here. Now I'm starting to think I don't want her to freeze to death. She gets in here. She comes into my home. She started to give me enough trust to come into my home, but she's very, very nervous. I mean, a little noise and she runs out like, there's no tomorrow. I could pet her and everything, but the problem is Paul the cat doesn't like her at all. Paul the cat, when he's next to her, just starts like smacking her with his paws, like, get out. So I tried a few things, but the problem is it's obvious Paul doesn't want her here, and Paul doesn't like the fact that she's here. So I'm not going to push that because Paul the cat is the master of the house, and I will not interfere with that. But now my concern is she's outside and it's cold, and she doesn't seem to be, that bad, even though it's colder now. So what I'm doing is in the morning, Paul the cat goes out at 5 and like at 5:30 in the morning, Paul the cat has his paw on my nose saying, I want to go out. So while he goes out, she gets in. So I take that time to, even though I'm half asleep and I want to continue sleeping because it's 5 in the morning, I let her in. I give her food. I pet her. And I give her, like half an hour in the warmth of the home so that she can, warm up a little bit. And it seems fine for now because after about a half an hour, she actually goes to the door kind of asking me, well, it's been nice. I just ate and you pet me and it was nice, but now I'm going back outside. And she leaves. She doesn't want to stay, which is kind of interesting. So if she was really cold, she wouldn't want to go back out for now. So after half an hour, she wants to go. And because Paul is already gone outside, there's no conflict. And I do that 2 or 3 times a day, because every time she sees Paul going out, she is at the door. It's like an automatic thing. And Paul knows I'm talking. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. It's just so funny. So here it goes. Here it goes. Paul the cat. So Paul the cat is like, yeah, you're talking about me. What are you talking about? Exactly. It's just funny. So anyways, she comes in like 3 times a day. She spends half an hour, goes back out. So for now, it's like, okay, I think it's going to be okay for them for now. I read a lot about cats and the cold. From what I read is this, it's really has to be really cold for a cat to freeze. Then again, she also disappears for hours at a time without, I don't even know where she's going. So maybe she has other places she goes to. The other thing is, I don't want to mess up her world. What if I put her in the cage and I bring her to a place where they shelter somewhere. Here there's a huge problem in Montreal of stray cats. It's a very big problem. And the stories I've been hearing a lot is, well, if you bring a stray cat, there's 80% chance they're going to put her to sleep. So I look at her, I look at how she deals and how she's outside. I don't want to, I don't know what to do, because when you hear that, you're like, yeah, I'm going to bring her to her death. That's not what I want. Then again, I don't want her to freeze to death outside. I don't know what to do. It's kind of complicated. So I don't know. We're going to see. And she's really cute. I mean, I don't know if I got a picture here, but I mean, she's adorable. But it's, I have pictures. I don't remember if I still have the pictures or not. Yeah, there's I don't have them here. I posted them on Facebook, but I mean, she's really, really nice. But she's very, very scared too. She I don't know. So anyways, I don't know how I got there, but that's the story of what's happening right now. So I actually did a big purchase of cat food on Amazon because it's cheaper than it's not that it's not necessarily that cheap, but the fact that I don't have a car, when it gets heavy, what do you do when you don't have a car? I'm not going to take the bus with 48 cans of food. So because of the weight, I ordered cat food from Amazon. And it's like I got tons of cat food because now I'm giving food to that kitty and Paul at the same time. Anyways, enough cat stuff. Draco, question for the group. Which Texan is good to start out with? How much money do you want to spend? And do you want to have single sideband? Texan PL660 is, I think it's kind of a standard of a very nice mid-level radio. Hey, Blind Picker. Nice to have you here, Rob. W0RAB, Blind Ham. Nice to have you on board. Eric Cottrell. Nice to have you on board. And have fun at that net at 8 p.m. in 8 minutes. Gilles Neveu. Nice to have you here. Texan 880, $280. What currency of $280? Canadian dollars? Because on Amazon, if I look here, okay, just to give you an idea, I believe Amazon still has the Texan. So Texan. So on Amazon, so to give you an idea, in Canadian dollars, Amazon sells it for 319 Canadian dollars, which means it probably came up to, so the cheapest one in Amazon here in Canada is $299.98 in Canadian dollars, which probably comes up to, I don't know, 225, 230 US dollars. So, and if I look at eBay, on eBay, $263 from Hong Kong Canadian. That means it's roughly $200 US. That's the prices we have here. Well, one guy is completely nuts, is selling a Texan PL 880 for $747. High performance radio, my ass. What the hell? Another one here, $415 US. Come on. That's a joke. Bobby says Amazon is then for 160 US. Yeah, but it depends where you are. Because here in Canada, lowest price is about 200 US, which is 250, 260. Depends where you are, not everywhere. You guys in the US have a lot of lower prices on many things. PageMaster just received Radio Shack Pro 2040 scanner, going through a battery of tests. Cool. Matt, question for anyone. The AN200 tunable loop for medium wave reception. I just got one, and the jumper that came with it has 3.5 millimeter plug on one end, but 2 loose strands on the other. No, I got 3.5 millimeter on each side. Mine had 3.5 millimeter on each side to adapt to a portable radio. That is weird. That is weird. Because mine, I believe, had 3.5 millimeter on each side. Pretty sure. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Al, nice to have you on board. Says, what type of portable radio would you recommend for long distance AM listening, and one that has shortwave bands included on it? Well, I think we talked about it last time, and is the C-Crane high performance AM FM radios are pretty good for that. As for long distance AM listening and one that has shortwaves, I would probably go for the XH Data is a good choice because it has a longer ferrite. It has a longer ferrite, and it is very good on medium wave. I can tell you that. Eric Cottrell, there will be cake. Oh ho. Sergeant Rock, great 6-page review of the Texan PL990X and the Canadian DX. Now, November newsletter. When does Texan make you the official spokesman? You know, I have contacted Texan USA, and they never came back. And I contacted Texan Australia, which seems to be much more active. I know that on Twitter, if I post Texan stuff, Texan Radio's official Twitter feed always thumbs me up. But they don't really interact much with me. And you know what? It's all right. Because one of the things I don't want on this channel is to be a puppet of some radio company because they give me stuff. I want to feel free to talk about any brand the way I please. I mean, I love the PL990X, even though it's not perfect. But you know what? If somebody tells me, well, should I get one? I will probably say, well, you can save money and get the 880, which is very close, and it's going to be fine. And you'll save money. And I will always, also say, well, you don't want to spend that amount of money. In a Texan PL 660, you get a great radio anyways. It all depends what you want to do, Rufus Newt, yeah, that's what I want to do. The diffusion screens. I want to use. I had an idea with some while seeing some stuff, and it would be very, very inexpensive for me to actually create myself. Because right now I have direct lighting. I want to have, we want to have more diffuse indirect lighting to make it better. Bill, is it worth upgrading the 880 to 990X? No. If you have an 880, no. I can't I can't find any reason why you want to move on to the 990X unless you want to use it as a Bluetooth enabled smart speaker or speaker of some sort with your smartphone and stuff. Remove that. No, I don't know why you would move on. They are very close in radio and performance are the same. PL 880 has great sound. I can't justify anybody moving from an 880 to a 990X. I'll say exactly what I said the other day to someone. Unless you have the money and want to have a new radio anyway, then go for it. But if it's because you think maybe it could be better, nope. I don't know why you should move on from an 880 to 990X. I honestly, even a lower end radio, because I'll put the 880 closer to a mid-eye range, like the 990X, mid-eye range. 990X is not a high-end radio, so they call it a high-end portable. Mid to high, okay? Let's put it mid to high. But if you have it, let's say you have a Texan PL 680 like I have, or a Texan PL 660. One thing you got to get out of your mind is, no, you're not going to get more signals. No, you're not going to hear that station you never hear because you have that 990X instead of the 680. No, I can't. I'm sorry. No. Your 660, 680 is going to get it also. It's just that in terms of audio fidelity, of precision of single sideband tuning, which is closer to a desktop radio than a portable, yes, there are advantages to the 990X, but it comes at a price that is twice the price. If you look at a Texan PL 660, the 990X is twice the price. Is it performance twice the price? I'm not sure. Is it worth, because I get a lot of people saying it's not worth the price that it is. With all the added precision, and you're tuning the right frequency. It tunes to 10th of a hertz and had the Bluetooth and all the extras that are in the box. I honestly think it's worth its price tag for all of that reason. But I didn't say that it's worth it to upgrade to it. That is a different story. There's a difference between it's worth its price tag and it's worth upgrading that lower end radio to that new radio. That's not what I'm saying. And if you have a PL 680 or 660 or 600, you already have something very decent that does a very, very nice job at receiving signals you want to listen to. And I'm never going to say, oh, you got to get the 990X. No. But if you have the money and you want to have something that has that little extra to it, I'll put it as I'll put it in a different way. It's like when you buy a desktop receiver. My Icom ICR 8500, definitely with its flexibility of tuning, adds a little something more than any portable I've got. The Texan PL990X, what it brings that is new to the hobby that I don't see very often is that it actually brings me closer to my Icom ICR 8500 and the flexibility of how it's tuned and what it does and the extras with it. But from telling you to go there, it's a different story. And I want to remind everybody that whatever you use that is fairly decent, XH Data D808, Texan PL 660, any Sony branded portable, any Grundig branded portable, you're not getting more signals. You're not going to hear a station you didn't hear before. If you do, it's not the radio. It's propagation, not the radio. That's where I want everybody to understand what the Texan PL 990X is. It's worth it, its price. It's not necessarily worth it to upgrade to it, depending on what you want and what you're doing. You know, I love it. It's become one of my favorite radios because of its flexible tuning and precise tuning. I have to say it's cool. I'm glad to have it, and I want to thank once again everybody that participated in the fund drive for me to purchase that. Truly a nice radio, but before you would invest in there, that's the other thing, because I think portables that are decent today are very much at the top of performance that we already can get. It's just that it needs that extra, where is the extra? What's that little something more? That's something more, I'll put it even more blunt. You're not going to receive on an ICOM SDR 8600 that's $3,000 or $2,000 or whatever something you don't hear on your Texan PL 680. I'm sorry, you're not. It doesn't have that more interesting or more sensitive. Radios have reached that level where they're all so sensitive that they all hear everything. They all hear it. But, with the same antenna and everything. But that said, the ICOM ICR 8600's flexibility and advanced electronics will maybe give you that little what's missing to get that edge, that possibility of listening to that station in a better quality, or in a way that, with the filters and everything you can add, that is different. My ICOM ICR 8500 is a little bit like that. The flexibility of the IF shift and stuff like that kind of makes you play around with the signals, adds a little something to it. But I can tell you, there's no signal I heard on my ICOM 8500 that I don't hear on the SDR play, or that I don't hear on a portable. That's not the case. People are on the impression that, well, I purchased that $3,000 radio. It's vastly superior to, it's better. But you're not. Nobody's gonna show me that. I got that signal from that exotic station is like, I got it also on my portable. But the flexibility of that higher end radio that has all the gizmos and the bells and whistles might actually give you that little something more to maybe understand a little better the program or whatever is there. That's where tabletops and high-end radios are, having the flexibility of added electronics that do all sorts of little stuff. But in sensitivity, honestly, every radio that is designed with a minimum of quality, they all receive the same signals. It's the processing that's different, and that adds to it, What else do we have? Steve in Australia. Nice to have you on board using the new SDS 200 scanner. What a fantastic radio. You like it? Cool. Michael Absher. Nice to have you on board. Says, I like these live streams. Keep them coming. Yeah, cool. Joseph says, of course, it's better to build something than do a viral video. Absolutely. Oh, man, Matt, I forgot about that. Oh, man, I still remember that. Leave Brittany alone. Crying on the screen is like, come on, get a life. How can that be viral video or something, you know? You know what? If I want to do a viral video, I should do a Paul the Cat channel. I'm sure one of those videos are going to hit like millions of views at some point because they're going to like, oh, have you seen how that's so cute? You know, there was a very cute moment this week. That cat that I was talking about, that stray cat that comes in, she actually loves Paul. She head bumps Paul like, oh, hello. But Paul replies back with, smacking her all the time. But that little moment, even I was like sitting down and I saw that. I was like, oh, this is so cute. She loves Paul. But Paul hates her. It's crazy. What else do we have? Michael just bought the Sangean 404 shortwave radio. What else do we have? Okay, let's go down. Rufus Newt. Yeah, we're 130 now. 67 likes. Come on, like. What else do we have? Michael, KA6MAP is the call sign. Cool. Welcome aboard, my friend. Gary, nice to have you on board. Crinden Tuttle 4, nice to have you on board. KJ7NUX from Oregon, and nice to have you on board. Artist Alec Raptors would love to do a live show with you someday. Cool. You know what? We're going to arrange that. I think that could be something even very interesting to add to the. I am the YouTube. Just to give an example. We talked about that Finnish idiot that spreads fake news. That guy is obviously, I'm going to be very fair. He's very knowledgeable. He's just impossible. He doesn't have communication skills. He treats you like an idiot rather than helping you with a subject and trying to help you out. And from what I know, he's been kicked out of pretty much every group I've ever seen because he ends up at some point treating somebody like trash, which is sad because we need knowledgeable people. But we need knowledgeable people that treat people that have less knowledge correctly. We've all been there. We've all been at, I have no idea what I'm doing. Can somebody help me? And this isn't just radio. Every day in our lives, how many of you in the last week, the last month, went somewhere, looked at something, and you're like, how the hell that thing works? I'll give you a perfect example of how idiot I was a couple of weeks ago. It's just so funny. There's this vending machine, and it's a brand new vending machine. And I mean, I'm the tech guy. Imagine. So the vending machine has all sorts of things. And I am thirsty. I want to have a bottle of water. I'm in the middle of nowhere. The vending machine, I have no cash, no money on me because, nobody wants to have cash with COVID. So I'm always paying with cards. I look at the vending machine and I'm like, well, this is only cash. And then, I'm looking and there's only cash. It's like, it's a brand new vending machine. Why doesn't it have card capability like every machine? But I'm the guy that does not observe well. And especially, I was in an environment where there's like tons of people around me. Everybody was looking at a machine, looking at me. It's like, it's kind of intimidating. So it's like, okay, you're a little stressed. Everybody's looking at me. It's like, what? Everybody's looking at me for what? What? They're hoping I'm going to buy something in that new machine. Then there's this woman that comes by, and I said, step aside because we have our masks and we got a social distance. And she looks at me and she says, "You have no idea how it works, eh?" And I'm like, "Pretty much." And she says, "Look." And she taps her card. She punches in what she wants, and she taps her card where, of course, there's this big, giant card with the little logo of, yeah, you can tap here. And I'm like, oh, God, I feel like an idiot. It's that big, that obvious. I never seen it. I never saw it was there. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you very much. And then like a smart ass, I get to the machine and I just punch in the, D2 for the bottle of water. And I get my card out and it's like tap. And it's like, look at that. I'm a pro. I know what I'm doing now. But it's like 2 minutes, 2 minutes before, it's like, yeah, we're the biggest idiot in the world right now. Oh, God. Anyways, story of life every day. So, we all been there where we just like, what am I doing? What should I do? What am I supposed to do here? So we need people that have knowledge and that help us out. And in a way that is, that doesn't make us feel like we're stupid. That just like, oh, I've been there. This is how you do it, Oh, God. WF7I Homebrew would be fun to have, John from Report of the Week. He often watches. He told last time I wrote to him an email, he was saying that he often watches the live show, but rarely interacts. But that would be fun. Yeah, an interview with him, that would be great. Steve says, new from an importer here in Australia because the radio is not released here, only the SDS 100. Oh, man. Eric Cottrell says, I have the SDS 200. Nice scanner. Cool. What else do we have? Michael Hampshire is from Northern California. Cool. James Johnson, I've seen that done on other shows like Everyday Astronaut, where other shows come together. What else do we have? Chuck C.B. Davis, nice to have you here. Astronomy would be a good subject to talk about, its connection to radio. Yeah. MDK2, you have options. Montreal must have no-kill shelters. Yeah, well, it's a complex thing. And what happens is that it's from the experience of... because, most shelters tell you, we're going to try to, we're going to have a study on the cat to make sure that we can adopt it. Problem is, she's not very friendly. She's more scared than anything else. So, yeah, Eric, I was thinking of the metal shed where I have my antenna. I don't have anything in there really, what I could do is leave it unlocked. And I was thinking of building some kind of putting maybe a couple of light bulbs to kind of make it a little warmer than the outside, and try to, if she needs a place where it's warm, she can go in there, and I could, I'm not going to put bowls of food, because then I'm going to have 38 cats. I put I a couple of times, because she didn't want to come up, I put a bowl of food for her on the balcony in the back. And I look in the back, and there's like 8 cats on my balcony. It's like, whoa, this isn't a cat party. This is food for her, not for you guys. You all got a home. Go eat somewhere else. But so I don't want to attract all the cats in the neighborhood. I just want her to have a spot. So I don't know. I've been thinking of different things I could do. I mean, she's not, obviously, when I look at her, I look at how she reacts and how she's outside. She doesn't seem to be sad or anything. It's just I don't want anything to happen to her because of the cold. Joe Rodman, nice to have you here. Tom DXer, WPE2QED, nice to have you here from Hudson Valley, New York. Robert Prosper is really digging that portable radio front and center. I know it's there for a reason. It's a very beautiful radio. Kamazi 76, we have a female version of Paul the Cat, which I understand is king of rare to have a female tabby cat. Make a shelter out of a cooler. Oh, the styrofoam coolers and stuff. Oh, yeah, that could be interesting. That could be interesting to do something to help her out. Okay. Thanks for the suggestions. That could be nice. When it's really cold, she'd have a place to go. At least. So, sunspot number 2783. Yeah, the sun has a new sunspot. That's pretty cool. Kimegsy says 1 in 5 tabbies are female, so not super rare, but somewhat, I guess. Huh. Joe Rodman says Texan PL660 is a nice radio. 1-0 or 10. Sun is making my heart skip. Rick, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. Andrew Colt, Anonco has it at a reduced price now. So Anonco could be a place to check. Matt says, I can't say I've had a female ginger tabby, but my family had a silver one when I was growing up. And I'm on my second one as an adult now. Both brown tabbies seem to be super common. The ginger cats, like Paul the Cat, was a very, very interesting history. One of the reasons they are so popular is apparently that the Vikings chose those cats as being the cats they loved. So it made the ginger cats, the orange cats like Paul, more popular than ever. William Pitchman says, in Canada, you don't own cats, cats own you. Well, that's pretty much the case everywhere, that cats own you. But WF7I Homebrew EA3JE from Spain on 3795 lower sideband. The guy sounds tired, maybe drunk. Yeah, he's Lou, I think his name. We hear him all the time. BLQ Lab, once again into SDR, thinking about a Raspberry Pi and an RTL SDR. Any thoughts? This is a relatively inexpensive way to get started. If you're going to buy a Raspberry Pi and a RTL SDR, if you have to buy both, then go to a SDR Play RSP1A. Same price tag, much better performance, but you'll need a PC to run it. Well, you can run it on a Raspberry Pi also, but you'll start off with an SDR that has very good performance. Hey, Rich from North Carolina. Late check, no problem. Matt says, okay, I'll have to take mine back or contact them about the jumper they sent me. I thought it was strange. Yeah, I had my cable was the 3.5 millimeter on each end. That I'm pretty sure. Because when I saw, I wanted to reply back, but I totally forgot because I saw the picture you sent me. And I was like, no, that's not the way it was with mine. Bonjour, TVDXer. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Joe, my St. Gian ATS 405 is pretty hard to beat on medium wave. John Doe, nice to have you here. I live near St. Louis. Where's a perfect global location for a shortwave listener? Where can I hear it all? Oh, man. If you had to be somewhere in the world to listen to shortwave, I think North America is and there are two places that are not the best in the world: North America and Australia. But I will actually put another thing also. It depends on. Sorry, guys. It depends on what you have as a location to listen to. And to give an example, there's in Alberta. If you go on Kiwi SDRs in Alberta, V6JY, Don Moman is some Kiwi SDRs there with an amazing antenna array. You can almost hear anything there. You will hear things that you never hear anywhere else. The setup is amazing. So what I mean to say here is if you have the lowest noise possible and the most amazing antennas and everything, you have the possibility to hear in North America almost anything you hear anywhere in the world. But if we put it in a day-to-day portable radio or, noisy environment, you're probably better off to live in Africa or maybe in Asia or Middle East and places like that. That's what I would say. But you won't hear everything everywhere all the time. There are stations that, because of the frequency and time they use, you need to be where they are broadcasting to. William, explain Texan, Cato, Degen, Ethon, Grundig, all the same company, right? Not totally. Texan does a lot of radios that are branded with the different other brands, but Texan, Degen, and Ethon are different companies. Actually, Texan, Cato, Degen, they're pretty much all different companies. Grundig is pretty much Ethon now because Grundig doesn't exist anymore. It's just a name that they're using. What makes it complex is that Texan does radios for almost all of these brands. So it's hard to differentiate. Ethon pretty much has their radios made by and Grundig branded stuff by one of the Chinese. So it could be a Texan, but it could be other companies. It could be a Degen. It could be a Retson, one that we don't talk about because there's not a lot of radios. I have one Retson branded portable here that I need to make more videos with. Retson is a company we don't hear a lot about, but they do shortwave receivers. Example, the C-Crane CC Skywave SSB is made by Retson company in China. So there's other companies that we don't hear a lot about that also make radios for these brands. So it's kind of a mishmash, and it's kind of difficult to make it out of Who made what exactly? Mika Delmage, nice to have you here. Yeah, the time change. Since we changed our clocks, I don't know how many times I messed up with. Okay, what's now on 20 hours UTC, and then I end up looking at the clock and it's like it's not 20 hours, it's 21 hours UTC. I still am mixed up, so and freelancing, nice to have you on board from Georgia. Suggestions for a good pair of mono headphones. Wow. I don't know. Randall Klontz, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. The last time I wanted to have mono headphones, honestly, and what I did was simply get a adapter that sends mono on a stereo headphones. Jerry DX, nice to have you here. Yogi Mir, nice to have you here. Caesar, nice to have you on board. 5910, 7420. Radio Romanian. Cool. 4N Radio. My 990X arrived yesterday, and so far I think it was well worth the price. Seems to be built better than the other Texans I've owned, including the PL880, and is very stable and clear in ECSS and SSB mode. So glad you liked the 990X. Joseph Ickenbaum, what's the best Sony radio for long wave receiving? Oh, wow. I don't know. For long wave, I really don't know. Joe says, wife, don't you have enough radios? Me? No. Never. We never have enough radios. What the hell are we talking about? Enough radios. CKZB in Missouri says, I'm thinking of picking up 990X. I've been using a Sony ICF 2010 and PL660. Very good on the whips and excellent with the end-fed Magic 1 antenna with 30 feet line. Look, if you get one, it's because you want to have another radio. Because that Sony 2010, is an amazing radio. And the 990X won't be a better radio. But it'll be a good radio added to your collection. Let's pretty much say it like that. Yeah, because the AN200 does give you the option to use it as basically as an antenna coupler. That's the main use actually of it, because most radios, the AM on most portable radios do not have external antenna connections. You just put the antenna next to it and then tune the knob to match the frequency to actually increase the signal level. So for most radios, Matt MDK2, you'll just put it next to the radio and that's it. You won't use that cable, but in the case where you want to use that cable, yeah, okay. So you can return it, or you just can get a cable and use a regular cable. It works fine. But, I understand that it's not what you wanted. So, Calf, I really like the Black Cat plugin for SD Arno, but the SSTV, WeFax, and DX. I purchased a lot of those apps because I wanted to try them out and have them, and because I do this channel, it's something that you do. You buy the stuff, but I will be very fair here. I understand that software, it's a hard, a lot of work to do software and everything, but in these days where when I see a WeatherFax app that costs $15, I'm like, what? You kidding me? $15 for the WeatherFax app? For $3, $4, $5 I can deal with, but $15 is that what? I even saw one ham radio tool for Android that was like $49. I'm like, $49. Yeah, are you kidding me? Come on, okay. There's a limit to the price that I like to pay for software. I understand that it's not a big market, but come on, okay. Joe says, warning, don't you have enough shoes? Yeah, that you're gonna get a look. You're gonna get that look. If you want to buy another radio, don't say that. That's why I live alone. I can have all the radios I want without nobody saying anything. Canadian radio TV guy. Nice to have you here from Alberta, Canada, watching you on a vintage Zenith CRT. Wow. How are you doing that? How do you watch me on a vintage CRT? I'd like to see a picture of that. Hey, I'm watching you on my good old black and white TV from 1967. Grinding a house for help. Andrew Colt says, likes incoming. Jeff Barry, nice to have you here. NH Homestead, nice to have you on board. Here comes the likes. Good show. Just tuned in a few minutes ago. Hoping everyone is well. Thank you very much, my friends. William says, oh, I've seen the Leave Brittany Alone guy before. Oh, yeah. So that was like, come on. Nope. Matt, he never came back on YouTube. He thinks that I'm the bad guy that steals views from everybody. And the funniest part, because I know a lot of you probably know and go and see the Todderbird videos. You know, when you do a YouTube channel, you compare yourself with other channels. It's kind of normal. There's a website called Social Blade that lets you view your popularity versus everybody else's. And it's interesting because that guy kind of says, well, don't waste your time doing a shortwave channel. This guy is, cheating and getting all the views. Well, I got news for that guy, is that Todderbird's channel is actually, it's still not in the number of views higher than mine, but in the number of monthly views, he actually has more views than me right now. He beats me by 30 or 40,000 views a month. So it's like, yeah. So if I'm that bad, why is that guy Todderbird getting a little more views than me right now? It means that if you do something right, you get views, and that's it. So that's life. That's the guy makes nice videos. I'm not, what's the worst part of this is I am not in competition with anybody here at all. I'm not in that mode on the Shortwave channel. I might be a little on the tech channel, but yes and no, not necessarily. More, I would say on the tech channel, I'm more in the mode of I have my view on tech, and it's different from a lot of other tech channels. So it's more of it's not a competition. It's more of, I have my view on tech, and I think this way of technology. Here it's like I'm not in competition. I like to talk about other channels. I like to, I've done videos talking about and showing other channels. I don't hesitate when I say, Tom Styles that has the Hamrad 88 channel. It's kind of nice. It has some nice stuff there. Todderbird is cool. I talked about Two Hands on the Radio when he was active. I have no problem talking about other channels. It's not a competition for me here. It's we can all have a channel that talks about. It's like Somebody once told me, it's like, well, if you do a tech channel, there's already tons of them out there. Yeah, but mine is my own take on it. We have a different way of thinking, a different way of having our viewpoints and our and the way we think about tech and radio and whatever. We each have our little something. We all can be there. There's YouTube is that. We can all be here doing something, and there's no competition. I am not in a competition with no one. Yes, I keep an eye on who else is my competition, mostly for the fun of it. I am not frustrated that Todderbird has more views than me. It's fine. He's got his take. He's got like all sorts of things from old radios that he reviews, from new radios. He's got his thing, and that's perfect. I got my thing, and that's perfect. We can all live together. We all have space for that. The more radio channels exist, the more content for all of you to view from different people, which is nice, I mean, come on. What else do we have? It says he clearly had a Napoleon complex. It wasn't enough to be smart and make informative videos. He wanted everyone to regard him as a final authority. Yeah, that is the problem with him. Because it's that's a weird way of thinking. It's as if I would say, well, I am the Shortwave channel, and this is where you should get your news and information, because nobody else is good at it like I am. It's like, what? Come on. William Helms, yep. Communication without being tugged down to. Yep. Hunter's Ali Crafter says, had the Finnish idiot correct me in the comments on one of my videos, and then I blocked him. It's like, come on, do your stuff. His biggest mistake was, first of all, to attack others. I don't attack no one. I could use this forum today to bash and attack on people that I could mention, because this week there's a little, mess up with some people thinking that, whatever that Finnish idiot said was true. And, I could mention names. I could do. Why should I waste time for that? We're talking about Shortwave. We want to have fun here. I will not waste my time with anything like that. And, all I got to say is, anybody that wrote, well, I'm leaving the group now. Well, goodbye, good riddance, and just don't come back. I don't care. Okay. Rufus says, during COVID, I'm actually carrying more cash than I usually do. I don't. I haven't. Nobody wants cash right now. So it's like, I don't have cash in my wallet, and I haven't had cash in 6 months. Joe, I had to tell a guy to work. You're smart, I'm dumb. Not that we have that out of the way. Can you help me? But people are often easy to belittle themselves. I noticed that when I was a tech guy. That, by the way, I'm 20 minutes, almost 25 minutes behind in the chat. Sorry, guys. When I get back down to the chat, I will go and refill my glass of drink, and we're going to start answering the questions of Mr. Robert in Arizona here. What else do we have? Serge Rock says, hi, Radio New Zealand 15720 now, about 0116 strong on a Texan R9012 analog. Cool. Into Hawaii. Nice. On the Texan R9012. That is really cool. $20 radio. How do you, how do you figure out that a $20 radio not even receives shortwave well like that? Frank Ireland, nice to have you here from Venice, Florida. Dan V, nice to have you on board from Ohio. Larry Massey, nice to have you on board from upstate New York for my winter home. Left upstate New York for his winter home in Arizona. Cool. Caesar, have winter in Canada this year? Well, here it's not. There's no snow on the ground yet or anything. We have a couple of days that's getting cold. It's like -5 degrees Celsius right now on my weather station. But we're not yet into winter here in Montreal. But I know out west, there's a lot of snow that we fell in Alberta and so on. Marvin Motz, konnichiwa. Nice to have you here, my friend, from the Japan Islands. And we have the most numerous radio amateurs in the world. Cool. Matt says, I had a male ginger tabby in the 90s, in 2000s. He was sweet and I miss him. Yeah, I know I'm going to miss Paul the cat one day. That's where I need to. He's such a sweet cat. I mean, if you guys would see it every day, how he comes to me and, you know, wants to play and do stuff. I have a box in the living room. And the box is on the side and there's a flap. What he likes when he wants to play is he gets in, opens the flap with his paw and gets in the box. That, when he does that, when I'm arriving in the living room, means it's time to play. And then I put my fingers and walk on the box and you know, he pushes with his paw and I go and start messing up with him and he's like, he just barely, you know, he puts his teeth on my hand, but he doesn't, you know, nothing serious. Just to say, it's like, it's really to play. It's just so much, you know. I mean, these are so cute and so much fun, honestly. Joseph Eggenbaum, gingers are ultimate cat. I had one too. Amazing cat, really funny personality. Well, I read on the internet, and I don't know if it's necessarily true. You know, internet is internet. But I've read quite a few places where they said that the ginger tabby cats are often more sweeter and more fun and loving in personality than a lot of other types of cats. So I don't know if it's true or it's just, you know, people tend to have that observation. Jim Gordon, something that I've noticed. A lot of new DSP shortwave portables are rather poor here in Europe on longwave. Is this because they do not have a separate longwave coil on their ferrite rods? It's probably because of their design. You know, I hear very often a lot of newer, modern radios that have that DSP chip, because one thing we have to understand is that DSP chip is the same in every radio. It's just that they all use that silicon integrated 4734, 4735 series. That chip is designed to make a radio less expensive. We've got to give one positive side to that chip is that it's pretty amazing the performance it gives to radios, especially when the radio is well built, because everything around the chip is important also. But a lot of comments that I do see from people buying some of the radios that have the DSP chip in it is, you know, performance isn't that great on longwave. And I'm like, huh. So it could be the ferrite. It could be the way they're designed. But, you know, maybe there's some flaw in the chip. Maybe the chip doesn't perform as well on longwave. I don't know. But it's a good question. Frank Ireland, do the Texan PL880 and Ethon Satellite 750 have soft audio muting while tuning? PL880 does not. Satellite 750, I'm not sure because I don't know if it's DSP based or not. If it's not DSP based, it doesn't. It's really DSP-based radios that usually have the soft mute. Marvin Moss, try beverage antenna for superior reception if you can find the space. Rejects local interference the best. Yeah, beverages here it's not possible unless I go and knock at the door of the 10 nearest neighbors. Canadian Radio TV guy says, where I live in Alberta, I live about 15 minutes away from Lamont, where V6JY QESDR is located. Cool. Steve Miller, nice to have you here from Arizona, 85 Fahrenheit. Marvin Motts have tons of antennas, small islands, and boats, canoes for shortwave radio expeditions in a safe country with 50 times less COVID than the U.S. Thomas Olson says, received my XHJ D808 2 days ago from Walnut, California. New quick delivery for $100 US. Just tried it out an hour. We'll put it more of a test. Cool. Are you going to post some videos on YouTube somewhere? Let us know. We can watch that and let everybody know they're here. Thomas Kitts, Susie and Tom here. Hello to your fur baby. Thomas says, my husband got headphones and replaced the insides somehow. I was quite impressed. Wow. Joe Tyson, Sony 2010 series of radios are some of the best shortwave radios ever made. Yep. They are still today known to be some of the best. Yeah, 2001D. Yeah, Joe Tyson. KW1161, nice to have you on board from Tucson, Arizona. Tom DXer, one of my two cats is a male ginger tabby. The other is a black one, both 15-year-olds. Ginger is named Monster because he was a holy terror as a kitten. He's very friendly and also has asthma. Oh, wow. Okay. You know what, Joe, apart from the, he says, I'd love a 2010, just nervous about the age of them now. Apart from certain that had a very sensitive amplifier transistor that blew out easily from static, in general, they seems to be holding out quite well. Victor Vergas, nice to have you on board from Argentina. ¿Cómo está, mi amigo? What else do we have? Chastank says, Stan, just want to say, found your YouTube channel by accident and really enjoy your info. I got out of DXing back in 1997. Got married. She needed attention. And getting back again. Thanks for the info. Cool. Welcome aboard, my friend. Jeff, K85 QDO. Nice to have you on board from Groves, Texas. It is finally cool enough to enjoy the show outside by the fire pit. Cool. Professor News says, I had two cats. My oldest black male stealth cat passed last month at 11 years. His buddy Dave is in my lab now. 7-year-old caramel tabby. Cool. Thomas, love your Christmas lights. Yeah, I got, so they're incandescent, for those wondering. They're incandescent because of interference. I don't want to take the chance with LED lights or anything. One of the things that I did purchase, and I'm waiting to see if it's going to have an impact, there's new lights that have all sorts of patterns that are super bright LED, kind of little, they're little, man, I'm trying to find a word. Spheres. They're little spheres, all colorful, and there's like 8 different patterns. All I'm thinking is, yeah, I'm going to plug that in the tree, and there's going to be like patterns of noise in my SDR with the patterns of light in the Christmas tree. Oh, man. What else do we have? What else do we have? Matt says, the Finnish guy blocked me on Facebook over some trivial disagreement, and we had to boot him from the group. Blocking an admin is a no-no. I wonder if he's still on Facebook at all. I haven't seen him anywhere in any group and anything YouTube. I think he's just like, yeah, you know what? I don't need that. I am the superior mind, and they are all idiots. I'm pretty sure that's his way of thinking, anyways. Yeah, he is Australian and moved to Finland, I believe. Absolutely, Matt. James Johnson, it helps to get multiple sources for info, especially on tech service vids. You may find that one guy tricks are not so good for you. Yep. And we have different views, different things. Absolutely. My kitty doesn't play that much with toys. He wants to play with me. I noticed one thing about my cat is that if he wants to play, it's with me. He doesn't want to play with toys. He doesn't want to play. He plays very, very little with toys. A couple of minutes and he's done. But he wants to play with me for like half an hour, and he's very demanding on that. I'm working all day, and when he comes in my room, comes to my office, and he's like, meow, meow. Okay. And then I get up and I see where he goes. And it's like, okay, you want to play now. Okay, let's play for an hour or half an hour. And after that, he's super happy, goes outside, he eats, and then goes back to bed or whatever. It's really, really nice. Yeah, WF7I homebrew is nothing much. It's just that there's this guy that there's a guy that had lives in Finland that had a channel. I think this channel is still up. He just doesn't make videos anymore about amateur radio stuff. I actually had subscribed to that guy back then because I had by accident found his channel, found it interesting. He's knowledgeable in what he does, but he just isn't very, nice. So he made a video about me, where he said that I was an idiot. And it started with the first video he made where he used part of my live show that he put there and said, okay, wrong. What he says is wrong and is bad and blah, 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 blah. And I remember I wrote to him and I said, you could say there's a guy on another channel that talks about something and he's not right. Because that's the way I would do it. I would say, well, on a YouTube channel today, there's a guy talking about this subject, and no, that's not the way it is. I would never pinpoint someone. I would never say, that's the guy. I would just say, I did view a video today on a channel that talks about radio, where the guy mentions this and that, and then I would say this is wrong. He actually used part of my video, my face, and it's like, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's untrue, blah, 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 blah. So when I wrote to him, I said, you could have just said, well, I saw a guy talk about, whatever. And just, say, well, I think he's wrong and whatever. It was obvious that his tactic was not just to say that I'm wrong, but by using part of my video, it was also to say, well, look at that guy. Don't go watch that guy. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's what it looked like, I knew I could not do anything on YouTube with that because I know that fair use exists. I did still complain to YouTube and, asked because he's used my image. But YouTube came back to me and said, well, we can't do anything because it's fair use. He uses your image, but in explaining something. It's like, yeah, okay. I knew that's the way it would be. And, you got to live with it because if fair use would not exist, we could not see the face of people in the news channels when they talk about something because we wouldn't be able to use an image or a part of a video to explain something. But where it became really, really bad. And I think it's because I had told him that, I was not happy with me using him using my image, was simply that he made a video where, because when I started on YouTube, I did a lot of channels. And that's because I wanted to see what was the subject that would be the best to get views. And he came to the conclusion that because I had many YouTube channels, I must be using them to cheat on YouTube, which is not at all possible. He just doesn't understand YouTube, and it's mostly because he's frustrated about it. And this week, I removed a bunch of guys from the Facebook group because I got a private message where a couple of them were spreading that video and saying, "Hey, look at that, Jill's a fake," and blah blah blah. And I have no tolerance, and anybody that shares that, I have no tolerance. And so I removed those, and I said, "Hey, you spreading fake news? You spreading fake news about me? Well, you're out, and I don't want to see you again. I don't want to have anything to do with you again, and you're not ever getting back into the group. I don't want that shit." So that's the thing, and we're gonna stay out of that. We already spent too much time tonight talking about it. Kevin, WS2H, nice to have you on board. Well, now I try not to use cash and get cash back and points on credit cards. What else do we have? Larry Cordy, nice to have you here from New York. Pretty cool. Thank you, Kevin. Thomas says my hubby said he built a radio when he was 12, crystal, and he said it was cat whisker. Yeah. Well, cats love boxes. John Doe, will there be a special American Thanksgiving show? Well, we're going to be here on Saturday of that Thanksgiving weekend. So I think we can take that as the Thanksgiving show. Joe says has never gotten anything on long wave in Virginia other than local beacons. Yeah, that's what most of us pretty much only have. Dmitry Lavrinovich, nice to have you on board from Minnesota. Been watching this great show on my computer in my work time. Cool. Welcome aboard. Nice to have people from all over here. Really nice. Shane Fay, what are we doing? We're talking about radio. That ancient art of listening to invisible signals. Where are you located? Glenn Zegman, nice to have you here from Tennessee. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, by the way. John Doganite. One question: Canadian maple syrup or Vermont pill? Canadian. Much better. But I'd like to try the Vermont maple syrup. I got to say, I never did. But I would. I've never eaten anything else than Canadian maple syrup. So James Johnson, question: when running a long wire for an antenna, what's the best gauge to use? A gauge doesn't change anything in reception, so it's just choose the one that is sturdy enough to withhold when it's very windy and when there's high storms and stuff like that. You'll want to have what will hold up against the weather, because for the size of the wire, it doesn't matter. Robert Shine, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania in 3VXT. Joseph picking up Radio New Zealand 15720, 0156 on the California coast. Conticom GP5 with telescopic. Cool. Canadian Radio TV guy, do you ever watch Shango066 tech videos? He's probably one of my favorites. Name rings a bell, so I probably did, because the name rings a bell. Mike Thornton, nice to have you on board from Kansas, WC0L. Robert Shine, fair use. What about when music or something similar happens? YouTube takes it down. No, wait. If I post less than 10 seconds of it, it is fair use. So I could, for example, put a Madonna song, but if I don't go over 10 seconds of audio, and then use it as an example for something, because that fair use is that using part of something and explaining that you need that to explain something. So if I use 8 seconds of a Madonna song to explain something that has to do with it, music theory or whatever, YouTube will not take it down. Where they take it down is if it's, first of all, more than 10 seconds. And second of all, if it has no value of fair use, meaning if in the background here, the SDR would play a song that has a copyright while I'm talking about shortwave radio, there's no connection. So that does not get into fair use. Fair use is really using something in order to explain something else. That's why the news channels can put, people's pictures and parts of videos on their news channels without any problem of copyright, because after that, they explain a story that has to do with it. That's called fair use. What else do we have? James Johnson, with the FCC relocating frequencies here in the USA, does that affect your use of the same frequencies in Canada? Not always. An example of that is the 1.25 centimeter band, 220 megahertz. You guys got a part of it that got removed. But here in Canada, the whole 220 to 225 is still the same band. It hasn't changed. So if you guys have a change, we don't necessarily have a change here at all. It doesn't mean. There might be rules that could change, like, to prevent, especially when you're close to the border, prevent interference, for example. But usually what you guys do in a change does not reflect any changes here either. Yeah, that video is still around. Absolutely, Matt. G. Lee, nice to have you here from Fresno, California. WA6120SWL. What else do we have? Is Vermont maple syrup illegal in Canada? All I can say is I've never, ever, ever, ever seen anything else but Canadian maple syrup in any stores here in Quebec. Not necessarily because it's illegal, but I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. I'm not, I love maple syrup, but Bernie Squires, nice to have you here from Indiana. Greg Walton, nice to have you on board from Colorado. Ekadarius, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Robert Shine. Got it. 10 seconds. Yep. Can't go more than 10. And even that, you need to have it in a context. Canadian Radio TV guy, got a video of the setup I'm using to watch you on the 1988 Zenith CRT. Is there an email I should send it to? Oh, yeah. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Send it there. official shortwave radio at gmail.com. I want to see that. Is where anybody could send, anyways, anything they want to ask or do or whatever. Techie fan, any decent single sideband shortwave radios made today under 200 with an external antenna jack to hook up magnetic loops or dipoles? You can use a Texan PL660. You can use an XH Data D808. You can use under 200. You can use almost anything. An Ethon Executive Satellite SSB. You can use, so like I said, Texan PL660, 680. They're all great with external antenna jack. And they're all below 200. Keegan, next N80X, are nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. What else do we have? What else do we have? Hey, Kadarius. You know what? If all I can say is if we can take your mind off of all this stressful stuff, welcome aboard. I think we're all stressed. Honestly, I think with COVID and lockdown and everything, we're all stressed right now. Even I am not exactly like I usually am. You know what? I had a great moment this afternoon. I went to get groceries, and it was at this time of the year, that doesn't help. Also, cold, gray, dark. And I went to the grocery. It was cold. I came back and was like, regular walk to the grocery store. And I stopped for a second because in the clouds, there was a hole and there was a patch of blue sky and a little bit of color around it because of the sun hitting there. I stopped for, I don't know, I probably stopped for a minute looking at it. I was like, you know what, man? You are not taking the time to watch the beautiful world around you anymore. This is something that 10 years ago I would have stopped immediately and looked at it and was like, oh, look at that. That's cute. That's nice. And there I was thinking, man, you're not even looking at that anymore. It's like something's missing. You're not taking the time to see the cool stuff around you and the beautiful world around you. And I think that is probably even more intense now that we have what's happening. I think it's stressing out everyone. I can tell you that. Noodle Ham Operator from Georgia. Nice to have you here. Shortwave radio classes for beginners. I've got a few online already, but maybe we could use our Wednesday because I want to bring back the Wednesday show to learning. And I think that could be nice to have a series of for beginners. And I'm going to go fill my glass. So it's we've been on for 2 hours and 13. So you guys want me to continue? I'll go to fill up my glass. And we're going to go into the questions. There's some interesting questions from Robert in Arizona that sent a whole bunch of questions and wants me to answer. And he's watching tonight. And we're gonna make sure that we can check that out. And we're gonna make sure that everything is gonna be we're gonna answer as many as we can of the question. Change us to YouTube terms of services. I know. I'm live apparently according to a notification. Okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 1 So, okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. What I wanted to say. So, anyways, we got a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go and fill up my glass, and we're gonna talk about answer the questions. Stephen Wood, having trouble hearing CFRX here lately. Any news on them having problems? Oh, it's just propagation because I hear them daily here. I'm going to try it now. I don't think at this time, usually I don't hear them really, but so right now I'm not hearing it, but I hear them every day. It's really propagation that's changing because we're getting into winter. What else do we have? How do we get a shortwave radio call sign? So to do that shortwave radio call sign, you have to go to a website that is just here we go. I'm going to share this swarl.org shortwave call sign. So you're going to answer a few questions from this website. It's free, and you will get a link at some point with your certificate. It could take quite a few weeks before you get it. This is where you'll go, and they have a nice little kind of diploma style call sign that they're going to issue for you. So that's where you go. Tony Sima, nice to have you here, Tony. Got an old Grandig 800. The only problem with it is that the antenna got top heavy and broke and can't find another one. Yeah, that's a big problem with telescopic antennas on a lot of radios. So take it easy, Kadarius, and find those answers of what you can do to change all of that. And sometimes things look more complicated than they are in reality. Okay. Philip, yep, I will. James Johnson changed jobs 5 years ago, and I was able to lose the weight I had piled on from stress. Yeah. Robert Shine just opened a bottle of Leinenkugel's Snowdrift Vanilla Porter. Wow. That sounds delicious. So take care, Joseph Eckenbaum. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to start going through some of the questions for that we have here, and some really good ones. And everybody I think could learn, and some will learn stuff. Maybe some will just know it already. But I will need to go fill this, and I will right now go do that. I don't know if there's anything I could actually have playing right now because my so there's 6180 is pretty strong. Hey, have you guys noticed? I just noticed. I didn't know. 6180 seems to be CRI from Cuba. 6180 in Chinese, and in the background we can hear. I think we can hear in the background that there's Radio Nacional Amazona also. Yeah, we hear Radio Nacional Amazona in the background, and something in Chinese and over it. 6180. I guess they got a wrong frequency. So, hey guys, I'm back in 2 minutes. So we're just going to go and fill up the glass, and we'll answer the questions we've got through email. Jason Francis, nice to have you on board. Oh, I know. You guys want to see the start of the show. So while I'm gone, here's the start of the show while I go and pick up something to drink. Guys, so here we go. Mr. Paul. So I'm back in 2 minutes. Hello again. Nice to have everybody here. Sorry about that. So let's go for the questions. At least answer some of them. We could answer more of them in next week's show, as we're going to check it out. What else do we have? So hello, Jason Francis. Chuck CP Davis says, great day to everyone. Take care. Rufus Newt, hearing the mix of 6182 on an FRG 7000 and MLA 30. Gordon Lyle, nice to have you on board from Southern Illinois. And Halima PM, nice to have you here. Where are you located, Halima? So what I'm drinking, TVDXer, is vodka and cranberry juice. So cheers. 2 seconds. I will let Paul the cat out because Paul the cat is now next to the door and saying, hey, he wants to go out. So 1 second. Or 1 minute. Oh, God. Okay, John McClure, nice to have you here, my friend. Dimitri says, hey, Jill, I have a question for you. I was heard strange signals last night at 1 o'clock. Is it UTC? 7175 upper sideband. Can you tell me what it is? 7175 is the it's the amateur 40 meters amateur band. So without any audio or any information more than that, it's difficult to know what you might be hearing. Actually, depends what it sounded like and so on. Rufus Newt says the MLA-30 is sucking airwaves tonight. I was telling my friend the other day that the MLA-30 sucks all the waves from the air. They'll be the only shortwave listener in your neighborhood. I tell you, that's Alex Jones for you. So, okay. William Moser, nice to have you here. So, okay. Ron, nice to have you here from the rainy coast of Oregon. Got a long wire hooked up to the Texan PL 880. Nice to have you here, Ron. And PL 880 is a great radio. Marcos Antonio, nice to have you here. So here's the email that I'm gonna just read the beginning of the email. So we have let me just check it out. So we've got Robert in Arizona. Robert says that he's been listening to Shortwave for a long time. Started listening back in 1971 with an old multi-band radio that had several shortwave bands on them. Then moved on in the 70s and purchased a Kenwood R600 in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe. Then we, of course, he went to school in the 70s, went to college, university, and all of that. Then he says was distracted from the hobby for a while, came back in the late 80s and continued, was once again distracted off the hobby in the mid 90s, came back in early 2000, and have been listening off and on since then. I have stumbled upon your YouTube channel while searching for videos about Radio Moscow and found one of your videos that had QSL cards of Radio Moscow. I was wondering and searching for information about Radio Moscow if they were still on the air today, which now I know they aren't. But he says, I've been enjoying the videos, enjoying your live shows for many months now. And I know that you answer questions from viewers, and I have a lot of questions. It would be an honor for me if you could actually answer some of these, at least on your Wednesday show this coming Wednesday. So this email was received on Monday, by the way. So right now, he says that his listening post consists of a Panasonic RF B300 portable radio. And also, he's purchased in the last 6 months a Texan PL660 after hearing me talk about it in good terms. He loves both radios. He finds it really, really fun to listen to the hobby, to the shortwave bands, sorry. He says, boy, the bands are so quiet compared to the good old days when I started in 71, but it's still enjoyable hobby. I do go out to the park quite a lot because at my home, listening to shortwave is almost impossible. So that gives you an idea that sometimes it's difficult in our own homes. So the questions. We're going to go to the questions. What else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Bobby Burgess says buffering. Keegan has no buffering. Marcos Antonio, nope. We're only on YouTube on the internet tonight. No pirates rebroadcasting anything, or not nowhere on the radio. But you never know. Sometimes it happens. So Frank Ireland sent his PL660 back, missing segments on the display. They emailed me claiming that they cannot reproduce a problem. So not sure if they are going to replace it or not. You know, if it's connection, sometimes what happens is that if you send it back, the vibrations of transport and all of that might have replaced whatever was the problem. So it's not something we hear very often about missing segments on the display. I think it's the first time I hear that on a Texan radio. And one of the things that that happens on LCD displays, sometimes also static plays a role. If there's a lot of static around, sometimes it kind of messes up the LCD display. So really weird. So question number 1 from Robert. Sorry, guys, I got a little bit of throat issue here. At this time of year, it's kind of rough. Okay, let me just check it out. Okay, here we go. Question number 1. I have, so he says he's got very little knowledge of solar activity. He says, one of the things I would like to understand is why is there more solar flux, or that number goes up when there are sunspots? I believe they are dark cores, so I don't understand how this could actually add to the solar energy. I always thought that sunspots, because they are black, would be the reverse. They would actually have less output of energy. Can you explain this a little more for me, and the interaction, why it has a higher solar flux? So, okay. They might be black or dark, but they're not black, and they're just a little less, sending a little less light. But the reason why when a sunspot appears on the solar disk, the solar flux goes up, is because to have a sunspots are created by the magnetic field of the sun piercing through the solar surface. So that means that there's activity there. Something's happening. There's a lot of energy being created by the magnetic waves at that area, pierces through the surface of the sun, So the spots are kind of a little cooler. That's why they look dark, but in reality, they are very bright still, just not as bright as the rest of the sun. But because of the filaments of the magnetic field, it tends to make more energy output to the sun. So the more sunspots you'll have, even though they look black, they look dark, actually, the more energy output the sun is actually sending out. So when the magnetic fields break through, a sunspot is created, usually, and the solar flux is actually measured at 2 gigahertz frequency, like 2500 megahertz or 2.5 gigahertz. The measure is kind of the noise generated by the sun. When a sunspot is created, when the magnetic fields break through, you hear more noise than 2.5 gigahertz. That simply shows also it's kind of as a direct relation with the amount of energy the sun is sending us is increased a little bit. So every time you see a sunspot, there's more activity on the sun actually, and it's sending out more energy, and that energy rises the solar flux. The solar flux. And your second question is, please explain the interaction with the solar flux and the ionosphere. Ionosphere is created because we have some solar energy. Okay? The solar wind and the particles that the sun sends out constantly is what makes the ionosphere. The ionosphere, if the sun disappeared tomorrow morning, we would lose the ionosphere because there would be no source of particles, electronic particles, that would ionize the upper atmosphere. There could be an ionosphere, but it would be very weak from the cosmic radiation, basically, more than anything else. But the sun is very close, so it sends us a lot of energy. And what happens is that the general thickness of the ionosphere, the general the way that it's actually that it kind of makes itself or generates itself from the solar wind changes the frequencies that will actually be able to propagate. So right now, in the last couple of weeks, we've been able to enjoy solar flux that was above 90. Solar flux index goes from about 60, which is kind of the lowest that it could be, and I've never heard 60. I think the lowest solar flux I've ever heard is, in all my listening of WWV index and everything, I think it's 64. The highest, and I've never seen it beat that, but in my lifetime at least, but the highest I think is 400. I have personally witnessed in the big solar cycles of the 80s and 90s, solar flux of 350. So it gives you an idea. That's a hell of a solar flux. I can tell you 10-meter band is open all the time with that. So the more energy the sun sends out, the thicker, the more ionized the ionosphere is. The layers, because the ionosphere has different layers, and the layers organize themselves in a different way and are more intense. So when you have a higher solar flux, the ionosphere being more ionized, being thicker, can propagate or bounce signals of higher frequencies. So at a solar flux of 90, for example, that we had a couple of days, I wouldn't be surprised that the 10-meter band was maybe open, but nobody ever tries it because that's the way people are. We are into the, until we're at the peak of solar cycle and not trying. Well, you don't have to be at the peak of the solar cycle for 10 meters to actually work. But I could see personally, I could see that the 15 meter band, 21 megahertz, was really, really good. There were some hams there, and it was working well. So it will bounce off higher frequencies, and the higher the solar flux goes, the higher the frequencies it can bounce off. Remember, that's still that day-night thing. Daytime will bounce off 28 megahertz, but nighttime still, when the sun sets, reorganization of the ionosphere, some of the layers disappear or merge. It changes its properties. So 10 meters goes back down, and it's no. That's why we're not going to have hams on 15 meters, 10 meters, or whatever, or anything above 17, 18, 20 megahertz in the middle of the night, because the ionosphere can't support it. There are other things that make that possible, but that's a different thing. So the more energy, we can almost correlate. The more sunspots, the more energy, the more the ionosphere is thick, ionized, the higher the frequencies it will actually propagate. Now, we don't talk about the negative effects, because that also brings negative effects in radio propagation. There are some of the layers that absorb more, which means some of the lower frequencies might not propagate as well. There's a kind of a reverse effect that could happen here. But in the easy, down-to-earth way to say it is, you want to have the more sunspots possible in the sun, and you want to have the highest solar flux possible, so that the ionosphere is thick and capable of propagating even high frequencies, and be more robust and solid when it actually bounces signals, roughly. So I'm going to go down the chat room a little bit, then we're going to continue with more of the questions. James Johnson, have you thought about trying the Starlink internet service? I understand there's a beta test and is available for your area in North America currently. Yeah, I heard something about that. I need to look into that. I would be interested in trying that. Honestly, I would really, really be interested in trying the Starlink internet service. The only problem with the Starlink stuff is that it's creating a controversy for astronomy, unfortunately. James Johnson, Dr. Tamich Scout does a solar forecast and does special segment where she speaks the status of radio propagation. She's really good to watch. Yeah, the what everybody calls the space weather woman. Hey, Banui TVDXer, SMZ, take care. Kingan says this afternoon connected 3.5 millimeter plug into the earphone jack of the Ethan Grundig to the auxiliary input jack of the 2017 Chevrolet Volt car radio. Wow. You can listen to Shortwave through the car speakers. That is cool. So, okay. Question. Let's continue the questions. Okay. Question number 3 is about noise. He says where he lives, it's impossible to listen to the radio in his home right now. He goes to a park, a nearby park, to listen, or sometimes will take a ride in his car and end up in a parking lot somewhere listening to Shortwave. He says, what makes the difference between the low noise we had in the 70s or 80s and the high noise we have today? Is it that electronics have become noisier? Is it because the electronics is cheaper? Why do we have so much noise now? So the technology we use is different. Back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have technology. What did we have in our home in 1980? A TV, maybe some sort of cable box, but that thing was analog more than anything else. For quite a while, most of us didn't have any computers. And there weren't, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any electronic gizmos of all sorts. It's very different today. Today, in our homes, the amount of electronic devices we have is staggering. Everything we use is electronics of all sorts, and we have more than ever because we all now have our smartphones. We all have those devices of all sorts, the smart speakers and our printers and our computers, our smartphone, our TV is a different technology from the time. Everything, your toaster, believe it or not, your toaster, just to make 2 toasts, could have a chip in it to control temperature, control the time. We are in a very different world today. Electronics is everywhere, even in what does not even look like an electronic device. My coffee maker makes a buzz because the control system of the dripping and everything is buzzing all over when it's working. We have more electronics than ever. One of the biggest problems that probably is the number one today is that we moved on. One of the technologies that we moved on and has to do with the fact that our electronics is small, the switching power supply. Now, switching power supplies are not new. The first switching power supplies date back far in the 70s, and they existed. They existed, but they weren't popular because they were as big. In the late 70s, a switching power supply was as big as a regular transformer linear power supply. There was no use for them. It was not useful to have a switching power supply from that era replace a big, heavy power supply with a big transformer in it. Where it became clear that switching power supplies had an advantage is with the electronics that actually started getting smaller. The smaller we wanted our devices, the the lighter we wanted to have our devices, the smaller the electronics became. And we came to a point where electronics was so small, we started having power supplies that were very small compared to the original one. So there was a point where the switching power supply became king. It was smaller, more efficient, and didn't weigh nothing. A linear power supply. I got my Commodore computer here. Linear power supply. That thing is a big box, weighs 10 pounds. It's crazy. The Amiga 500 that I have, built roughly, 2 years after, 3 years after. That one is a switching power supply. It's one of the first switching power supplies that Commodore used in a computer. Same power supply. It's still as big, but weighs nothing compared to the original one. And they started using switching power supply in that one. So the reason for a switching power supply is because now it's very small. A switching power supply today is big like my thumb and even smaller. Plugs into the wall socket and gives you whatever power you want. And the reason they can achieve that is that a switching power supply uses solid state, like transistors, and push the frequency of the current very, very, very high. So a switching power supply can run in 50 kilohertz. That's 50,000 cycles a second, rather than 60 hertz, which was the linear power supply. It followed our electrical currents cycle. So you might say, well, how come they could do it so small now? Well, the higher the frequency of the current that you're using, the less heat it generates. So you can now take that big power supply, shove the cycle at 50,000 hertz suddenly, and now it runs cooler. You're going to make it smaller. You don't need as much cooling because it runs much cooler now. So that means you can push a lot of amps in a very small package at a very high frequency, and it's going to be less hot than the same amount of amps on a linear power supply that is huge. So if efficiency is there. But there's a price to pay for that. And the price to pay is that those oscillators that push up the current's frequency. Remember, every time you see that a device runs at a certain frequency, you are dealing with RF frequencies. So if a power supply says, I'm running at 50 kilohertz, what's going to happen is that 50 kilohertz, you might have a buzz. Why? Because the oscillator radiates part of that energy in RF. And there's tons of these things all around. So there's eventually what it does with all the circuits is there's just hash, and because the circuits are made as the cheapest, lowest grade possible, which means that when you have a switching power supply today, they are not going to do anything for the harmonics. So that 50 kilohertz has harmonics everywhere at 50, at 100, and 150, and it just continues. There's harmonics everywhere. It becomes a white noise of harmonics and buzzes and, all sorts of crap. They could, if they want, they could do a quiet switching power supply. It does exist. Very good quality switching power supplies suppress the harmonics and the noise generated by the device. Problem is, most of our electronics today is made to be as the cheapest that we can pay. We're kind of part of the problem here because we participate in that. I don't want to pay too much for that new router. Yeah, I know that there's a $500 router, but that $89 router here seems to do the job that I want, and it's $89. I'm going to save money, But saving money also means that the power supply comes with it is going to be cheaper. It's going to be the one that's not going to have anything to control the harmonics and the noise coming out of it. And what happens is that our electronics today is a big, big, big part of our noise now. There's lighting systems, fluorescent lighting, LED bulbs. There's a lot of stuff that today creates an amount of buzz and white noise everywhere. This is why we don't do shortwave listening as well in our homes suddenly. And like I said, we have much more electronics in our home than we ever did. If we start looking around at what electronics we have, you suddenly start looking at, wow, you'll buy an alarm clock. Back in 1985, I remember when I purchased my first alarm clock when I had my first job. It was 1986, summer job. I needed to wake up. I need an alarm clock, and I still have it. While doing my reorganization of the office, I actually found it. I kept it. It's my original alarm clock, and I think it's a Panasonic. It had blue, so a lot of them had red LEDs. My digits were blue. I found that cool because they were blue instead of red. That radio still runs on a good old linear power supply that's built in. Today, buy an alarm clock today. You're not getting a linear power supply today. You're getting a little cheap, switching power supply to give it power so that it works now. It's a different world. Why? Because it's smaller, because it's cheap to do now. But noise is higher because we have all of that technology today. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. What else do we have? James Johnson, first cable TV had channel A through F. Marvin Motz, thanks. Very good explanation. Everything digital means they are create square wave pulses, which include very high frequencies. Yep. Yingli CA, nice to have you here. The first electronic toaster was invented in 1893 by Alan McMasters in Scotland. He called the device the Eclipse Toaster, and it was manufactured and marketed in Britain by the Crompton Company. Wow, nice. Dimitri says the ban on short waves is much quiet today. Rufus says all digital electronics use oscillators, so do we. Yeah, absolutely. Marvin Moss, switching power supplies get higher and higher frequencies all the time. Yeah, absolutely. They can go to 200, 300, 500 kilohertz. And the higher frequency, the less heat, the less they need, the more harmonics and all sorts of crap that it actually sends. Keegan is hearing WWV in 5,000, 10,000 on the Ethan Grenadier Edition satellite radio. Strongest on 10,000. Cool. So, yeah, and I mean, oscillators are not new, but the lack also, we can probably say that there's the lack of wanting to suppress the noise generated from them today, Marvin Motz, every LED bulb includes a square wave power pulsing voltage changer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kai Turner says, listening on my RSPDX, I often see blobs of RF noise that drift around the HF band. I call them ghosts, but they look like noodles of noise that will drift around frequencies very erratically. That is often what a switching power supply looks like. They create these wavy lines that move around, and those are often part of switching power supplies. Pretty crazy. Have you seen anything like that in your SDR listening experience? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I see them regularly. For sure. It's my pronunciation of English, Marvin Motz. There's a lot of words I pronounce the way I pronounce it. We were joking on last week because I was saying that one of the things that that I do when we do the International Radio Report, I spend half an hour going on Google pronunciation to see how do you pronounce a word correctly. Carlos Aguila, can't wait for your review of the AMLA 150 to pull the trigger myself. Steve Miller, nice to have you here. Scott Forbes, nice to have you on board from down under, just experiencing the first day of lockdown in my state. Although I have to work from home, I suspect there will be some shortwave listening in my near future. There's a good side to lockdown. If we work from home, we have more time with our radios while we work. VT Radio, nice to have you here, Paul. AA1SU, checking in from Essex Junction, Vermont. Can't stay has 03 Zulu means it's time for bed. Forgot you might be here. Yep, and we start at 7 p.m. now, local, 0 UT. Remember, we had a chime change, so we're an hour earlier. K6YYL. Kimberly says, my old microwave was terribly noisy, and when I got a new one, it doesn't make any noise on my ham radio. It really surprised and didn't expect that. You know, that's where we need to be careful with our purchases. An example of that is when you buy a microwave. So I purchased one. I needed a new one about a year and a half ago. The old one I had was 25 years old. It gave me a good run. And it was a Panasonic. And I'm a big fan of Panasonic for most of the electronic stuff when they are available. So I absolutely wanted a Panasonic and purchased a new one. And it was a Panasonic. You know, when I started looking at the microwave ovens, mine is a 1200 watt microwave oven. And for those that don't know, a microwave oven is a big transmitter. Okay, it's simply 1200 watts of radio waves blasting at your food at a very specific frequency where the water molecules vibrate and create some heat. So what happens is that you look at 1200 watt microwaves and you start seeing that there are some at $69 and $99 and $129 and $199. Now they add features here and there, but when you purchase electronics, I think for the noise side of things, it often happens that buying a good brand will help you have less noise than buying a cheap brand. Remember that if a microwave oven gives you 1200 watts and you have the choice of a $79 one or a $139 one, the $69 or $79 one probably did some changes in electronics to make it as low cost as possible with the same job. So it could mean that it's going to last less, but it also could mean that it's going to be a hell of a noisy device. So the one I have doesn't make noise, but a friend of mine that has I don't remember the brand. It's a cheap brand. I had a shortwave radio. I had spent an afternoon at this place because he wanted me to take care of his dog. And I had spent an afternoon there. And I remember because I wanted to warm up my coffee that was getting cold. So I put what was left of my coffee in my mug in the microwave. And I was listening to shortwave. That's maybe 4 or 5 years ago. When I started microwave, my shortwave radio just blanked. It became a white noise of it's impossible to listen to anything on shortwave. So you know what? Sometimes it's worth it to be careful what brand and what device we have and how much we pay for it, for sure. Steve Miller, quadcopter photographer, always watching the K index because of wandering GPS signals. Yep, solar activity can mess up GPS signals, which means that the accuracy of the GPS isn't as good. That does happen, absolutely. Absolutely. Mittens the Kitten. Have you ever picked up any alien transmissions? Only from Earthlings that are aliens. Dimitri says use the internal power supply, which is in the Drake R8. Yeah. And, communications receiver, especially the ones that are at a certain price level, will often have pretty good power supplies to make sure that, it doesn't interfere with the radio. Nice to have you here from Yorkshire, England. No, microwaves are on 2,450 megahertz exactly. That is the frequency that radio, that the water resonates. So every molecule, so everything in the universe resonates at some frequency. For example, one of the frequencies that often is used to tune to the universe in search of aliens or extraterrestrial life is the resonating frequency of hydrogen, because it is thought that, well, if we are knowledgeable in our science, that would be the place to send a signal, because that would be the place we would maybe listen to. I digress, because I always thought, well, why would you want to use because hydrogen is the most common component of the universe. And I always thought, why would you want to use the noisiest space in the spectrum to broadcast? Because that's my thought. But anyways, water, H2O, vibrates when you send it a radio signal that's at 2.4 gigahertz, 2450 megahertz exactly. It's like your antenna. When you listen to a shortwave signal and you receive it, we sometimes see when you have dipoles, or I cut my antenna to be able to listen to 20 meters. Why do we do that? We do that because when you have a certain length, that wire, whatever antenna you're using right now, as a spot where it resonates the most. What does that mean? That means it's as sensitive as it can be on a specific frequency. That frequency, that's why they have frequency analyzers. It's going to tell you. That's where the signal, you'll get the maximum amount of signal for a frequency you're listening to. The molecules and the different whatever makes our universe, they resonate on a certain frequency. There are all of them do. So water is 2,450 megahertz. That's where your microwave is transmitting at 1,200 watts. So it's a big transmitter. You have a huge transmitter in your home. It's called a microwave oven. It's built in a way, and it has been done in a way, the metal cage inside it, the way that everything is designed, is to maximize that 1,200 watts of RF power into that little chamber. And that's why you never turn on your microwave without anything in it, because that microwave, the way it's designed, is some of the energy needs to be evacuated in some way, and that's the heat. So you need to put something in it that will actually absorb some of the frequency, because if you don't, you're going to see some really nice sparks and flares and everything in your microwave. And what it does is that the water molecules vibrate at that frequency, and the vibration, because everything that moves vibrates, well, it generates heat. That's the way that your microwave works. The heat from the water, Robert Shine, did I just hear there's another antenna to check out? MLA 150. It's the AMLA 150. It's a different thing. and the it's goes up to 150 megahertz. You know what? I'm scared of it because the fact that it goes to 150 megahertz. I already have the K180 WLA, and in my environment with strong FM signals, it overloads. I'm scared that the AMLA 150 will overload also. But if you're just for shortwave, don't worry. The MLA 30 is perfect, Robert Chan. Don't worry. Don't worry. No need for any divorce because you buy a new radio or antenna. And if you do need to buy a new antenna or radio, I'll speak to your wife. There's somebody on the phone for you. His name is Jill. He's from Canada. He just wants to explain to you why I need a new radio today. Yeah, International Radio Report, the Wisconsin Public Radio announcing the HD radio reduction. I'm so scared. Since I got my St. Jean HDR14, I love WVPS Vermont Public Radio Station. It has a 24-hour BBC feed on HD3, and I like to listen to that. I can tell you that. Yeah, dimmer switches can also be problematic. Absolutely. No, I didn't get it, Radio TV guy. That's why I've been. That's why I've been looking at my on my phone all the time, and I got nothing. Maybe I think he said it's a video. Maybe it's too big, and it doesn't get through. I think email is limited to 50 megabytes. Maybe that's way too big for it. Turner says some transmission really do sound like aliens. Things like over the horizon radar. Absolutely, there's enough stuff for conspiracy out there, for sure. Did you listen to that? I was about to do Alex Jones. I mean, I'm not going to do it. My voice is a little scratchy. What do we have? So Yingli CA VE3TYA in the house. Cool. Canadian Radio TV guys sending CW for pizza setting. Joshua Gosnell, nice to have you on board. So, another question. So, question number 4 is, if I need to install an antenna to try to listen from home, what would you say is the best antenna, and how should I install it? If you're obviously in an environment where noise is hell, kind of like here a little bit, what I would say is your best possible choice is the MLA 30 loop. For price versus performance is great. It will maybe, and that's the biggest problem. I have a hard time selling anything because I don't know if that MLA 30 is going to perform well where you live. I don't want to push something that you'll spend some hard-earned cash on it if I'm not sure that it could work. What I do is I am, from my own experience, I use my own personal experience in here to just say that I live in a noisy environment, and MLA 30 really made an improvement to my radio listening by giving me more signals. So it's possible that an MLA 30 loop might be a solution to your high noise, but it's not a miracle antenna, and it still gets noise, and it depends on the type of noise. If you can install it outside, as far away as possible from your home, that's your best bet. And I think there's not much more you can do especially when you don't hear anything at all on the shortwave bands because of noise, you know. Okay. Another question. I did hear you once talk about the decline of shortwave. I remember you said internet is not why shortwave is declining, but I've seen a lot of posts of people saying internet is the reason for the decline of shortwave. I'd like you to talk a little more about that and give your personal opinion on the subject. So, no, the internet is not at all responsible for the decline of shortwave. I think people that think that don't understand what shortwave is about, first of all. Because what I hear the most of people saying that internet is killing shortwave is, well, you can listen on the internet. Well, if that was the case, Radio Netherlands would still be on the internet rather than on shortwave. No, they quit shortwave and they just quit. There's no internet. They didn't see a future in the internet. That was not a thing. These are examples of, no, the internet is not replacing shortwave. The reason why the internet is not killing shortwave is because shortwave is not the stations that leave shortwave are not leaving because they say that online media is taking over. They're just leaving because they don't see, there's several things. They don't see a purpose of why they should stay on the air. You know what kept stations on the air in the 80s when I was listening? The Cold War. The Cold War meant we needed to talk to each other. Everybody thought maybe it's a good thing to have the voice of Norway or the voice of Sweden or the voice of the Netherlands or the voice of, you know, whatever country. Every country thought, yeah, it's we need to have a voice. And shortwave is great because nobody can block us. Nobody can, you know, we will just go through, you know, the different borders and countries. What happened when the Cold War ended? We had several things. First of all, when the Cold War ended, a lot of stations just arrived to a point where what are we doing exactly? And why are we spending so much money on it? And stations kind of had a lack of purpose. You know, Russia didn't have to defend itself anymore and trying to make us communists or something. Or at least, you know, as a radio, I am a fan of Radio Moscow of the good old days. I never thought Radio Moscow was trying to turn me into a communist, honestly. I always thought Radio Moscow just tried to give us a sense that, you know, we're not that bad of people here in the USSR. That's more the take I have on it. And it depends on everybody because I'm sure some people in the United States, for example, probably took that as that's the communist propaganda that's trying to turn us into commies. I was more in the, maybe it's because I'm Canadian, I don't know. I was more into this is our way of life in the USSR, communist USSR. We're not that bad of people. You know, we are good people trying to. And, you know, it's propaganda. I mean, it's like Voice of America's propaganda for U.S. government. It's the same thing. It's propaganda. But there was a purpose. Everybody wanted to have a voice because there was a purpose. There was a reason why I want to be on the airwaves so that other people around the world hear us saying what we have to say. Cold War ended. There's always been tensions around the world, and there are countries that will always have tense relations. But tensions, and it's just a appearance, honestly, because tensions seem to have gone down with the fall of the Soviet Empire, if we could say. I mean, tensions are still heavy, and they're still, there's still. I think there's still as much tension today around the world as there was 30 years ago. It's very different. It was very polarized back then. It was more like the West versus the East, communists versus the Western countries that want to have liberties and whatever. We want it to be free. I think a lot of stations and a lot of people and a lot of governments came to a point where they said, okay, what are we doing with that? Radio Canada International is an example. Radio Canada International, I think when budgets get tighter, when governments and every government around the world, and with COVID, it's even worse now, wants to search for a couple of pennies here and there to have a little more, a little more money and not have to raise taxes and blah, 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 the usual crap of governments and dealing with population. What happens is that they came to a point where, why are we exactly exploiting a station that costs $25 million a year, giving programs to foreigners around the world? What's the purpose of that exactly? A lot of people didn't understand that. And I still remember when Radio Sweden left. Now they do have some kind of online stuff, but I remember I wrote to them and I said, when Radio Sweden leaves shortwave, nobody will know what happens in Sweden. Nobody will even know who the Swedish people are, because shortwave had that purpose. For me as a Canadian, I knew it gave me a sense of who the Swedish people were. And I know it's not something that's necessary, but I think personally it's important to have a voice that explains who you are in the world as a country. Then there's the budgets, 25 million, 50 million, depending on who you are. Here in Canada, Radio Canada International was something like $16.5 million a year. You get, well, why are we doing this exactly? There's no need for this service. We don't have to, people know we are. Mostly people that are in budget and that have no idea what shortwave is all about and why it serves a purpose. There's probably also the declining of audience. Declining of audience is something interesting. I remember back in the, I think it was like late 80s. There was a special program on HCJB that they had done for, I don't know what anniversary or what, whatever. And I remember it was at the time when HCJB thought that the future of shortwave broadcasting was in single sideband. That's why they had that special transmitter in the 21455, I believe, that was in USB 24 hours, because they thought single sideband is going to save shortwave because it takes less energy. It's going to cost less to broadcast on shortwave and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure some of you remember that moment. I do. But I remember when about that time, they had a special show and they were talking about the future of broadcasting on shortwave. And back in 1987, 8 ish, they were already saying that there was a declining audience. And there was no shortwave, no internet. Sorry, there was no internet back then. Internet was not a problem. It's not why it was declining. It was declining because there were other media around. There was TV that was getting a little more cable TV. There's all sorts of things that made radio less relevant for shortwave also. But also there's, I think, the rise of the noise also helped the rise of the decline of shortwave. Because one day somebody turned on the radio and said, hey, I don't hear anything anymore. Yeah, it's because your neighbor bought that new whatever and you don't hear nothing. Or maybe you bought that thing, but you don't understand that it's making noise. The internet never had anything to do with the decline of shortwave. Anybody that thinks that, once again, like I say, has no idea why shortwave is declining. Today, shortwave is focusing on target areas around the world where there's where it's important to focus news, focus information, and be present. Usually, the most troubled areas in the world, the ones that are most controlled, China. China is clearly shut down. China, YouTube doesn't get into China. Yeah, there are some using VPNs and stuff, but even that is just a very complex thing. China is a very, very closed, very policed state. Well, shortwave is there. Why is it? It's the same purpose that it had in the 70s or 80s when we had all these stations. Hey, we need to talk and we need to voice what we have to say because there's something happening here and there's communism and there's closed borders and there's people not knowing the truth of what's happening around the world. That's the thing. And focus is going there. Africa is quite unstable. There's a lot of countries that are having a lot of problems all the time. Some have improved and become cool, nice countries. But there's still so much happening there that, well, we need voices. That's where the focus of shortwave is going. It's a changing world we are in. Obviously, North America is not a target area anymore. It's surprising that stations like Radio Romania still want to broadcast to us and give us the opinion. Obviously somebody somewhere in the Romanian Radio Romania and the Romanian government maybe understands that no, it's kind of nice to give out what Romania and Romanian population and Romanian life is all about. But slowly we're losing that capability, and shortwave broadcasting has become a very expensive thing. Antenna farms that cost a fortune, powers that try to broadcast hours and hours at a time with 200 kilowatts costs a lot of money. It's become very expensive to broadcast on shortwave. And when you spend a lot of money, well, what's the thing you want to know? What is it doing? Is it worth it? And they broadcast in North America, and nobody's sending a letter like, well, we are spending $20 million a year, and well, we got 17 listeners according to our mailbag. Of course, there's a lot more, but that's the 17 that decided to write. You get to a point where you need to explain, okay, so we're spending that amount of money for 17 people. It's a complex thing. Shortwave broadcasting is very complex. It should never be thought of as for money, because money is if you start talking about shortwave as money, it's already lost. Shortwave is not a moneymaker, and you can't talk in terms of the amount of money spent. It's a different it's a very different thing, honestly. Oh, Joshua, excited to start up a 10-meter net December 13th, 01 UT. Cool. Hope you're gonna have a lot of people joining in. Really nice. Yingli just acquired a realistic DX302 and 2 realistic SX190s. Cool. Yeah, 10-meter net would be probably better in the daytime, but if you use it as a local net, that I think is going to be okay. Yingli say in the future, shortwave will be used for survival once the future gets here. We'll be using it for military survival prepping. Yeah, lots of stuff, KW1161, I use a TV rotator attached to my Pixel Pro 1B magnetic loop. Really makes a difference in lower frequencies. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everything that is lower frequencies with more local signals, loops, it's important for loops to be rotated because they're very directional. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do agree, Joshua Gosnell. I think shortwave needs to be around. Absolutely. Matthew Kelleher says shortwave's not going anywhere like any old technology. It's not being replaced if it can still do things that its replacement can't do. It's like the vinyl records versus CDs. Shortwave is very unique. We had a discussion. Dan Robinson on the Facebook group was very, very active, saying, well, I don't think that shortwave, I don't agree with it. He's got his opinion. I don't agree with it. But what is, because, the BBC knows, because they had a survey, and there are a lot more shortwave listeners than we think out there. Because there's a lot of people that need to know news of what's happening in their own countries sometimes, because their own outlets don't give that information, Yeah, he's going to be, the zombie of Brother Stare is going to be there. Oh, man. Yingli misses Radio Deutsche Welle. I heard Radio Deutsche Welle in Hausa, I think was the African language this week. Sad that they don't have English and French like before. Yeah, Brother Stare is something weird. Matthew Kelleher says, it's funny what you said about Radio Sweden, Joe, because I feel like I know more about Cuba thanks to RHC, not losing sight of the fact that it's just the Cuba that their government wants me to show me. It is. What do we get out of shortwave? I know more about what's happening in Romania and some of those Romanian recipes that sometimes I'm like, wow, I should try that. Have you heard any news of Sweden lately? The last time I heard news of Sweden was, we have news about the fact that they're not treating COVID like everybody else, but I have no idea what's happening in, Radio Norway. What Anybody had news of Norwegian people lately? I don't know. I don't know what's happening in Norway. And I knew what's happening in Norway before. It's might be surprising and it might sound um strange for some people that don't get it. But we did have a sense of what was happening in every country that was broadcasting on shortwave. Life in Ecuador with HCJB, life in Norway with Radio Norway, life in Finland with Radio Finland. There was something I was super interested in knowing what's happening in their countries. It's like, wow, okay, oh, this is cool. Now the only time we hear of these countries is some nubjob that killed 50 people, and it's like, oh well, look at that happened in Sweden or Norway or whatever. Apart from that, I have no idea what's happening. And it's sad because we knew what was happening in different countries around the world, and it was actually interesting to know that. Matt says, I would have sent Radio Australia more letters if they were QSLing. I think if they stopped, that's a thing. There's something there, and I get two parts of that. So when Radio Australia stopped QSLing, I mean, Radio Australia had some of the most beautiful QSLs. And I said it in the past, no station really owe you anything, honestly. But let's be fair. If I write to you, so Radio Australia, an example. Radio Australia is giving you a program. They're giving me something. Yeah, I understand that, I could honestly write them to let them know I'm listening, to give them something back. But you know what? If you kind of put in my face, well, if you write us and let us know you're listening and blah, 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 you can get this. There's an incentive in there. There's something that's like, I honestly, and I'll be very fair here. I did write stations to let them know I'm listening and everything, and never ask in return. Honestly, through the 80s and 90s, I probably never wrote to a station that did not, or I could not have a chance at getting a QSL or something back. I know it's maybe sad. Maybe they're thinking, well, these guys, they just want to have something and that's it. But at the same time, yeah, but we're listening. And that card makes me do that little extra step to let you know, oh, I'm listening and I like your programs. So, we got to be fair here. A lot of people write for what? For what? Is there's something that's come back. It's not because I don't like you, but it's kind of fun to have a little QSL in back. Understand that. Dimitri says, like the Cuban music they transmit on. Yeah, Cuban music is nice. Absolutely, it's like being in vacation. All right, JD Dakota. There's a lot of people that don't have a computer and can't rely on the internet. Absolutely, and they can be controlled and shut down. There's quite a few people that ranted at me for me saying, you could, I'm not gonna go very far through that, but whatever your beliefs is okay. I'm just gonna add the instability of the U.S. elections is an perfect example of why we need shortwave. Who knows what could happen? Who knows where it could tip. Who knows? It's showing us that even what we think is the most solid democracies, what's the most perfect world, can easily go bad with a little, just a simple little nudge of something. And there's quite a few people that don't come here anymore that rented as, oh well, come on, we live in North America and the United States and Canada and whatever. And, you're talking about where shortwave is important because the internet could be shut down. How can they shut down the internet? I can tell you it's not because we live in the US or Canada that the internet cannot be shut down. That is not it's not something that is negative. It's a fact that it could at any time happen for a very stupid thing too. Wherever we live, stop thinking that no, it can never happen here. No, that's not the way it works. You could be surprised at all the crap that can create a big problem. An example with it is COVID. Look how many people. Have you guys ever seen how many people are kind of going up into the I want to defy the government because of rules? That just tells you that we are living in the reality, or what we seem to see as reality is a stable life, a stable government. But as soon as something unusual happens, look at all the conspiracies and all of the stuff that rises, and that shows you that we're not living on a concrete floor, we're living on a cloud. It's soft, but it can change at any time. It just needs the perfect moment, the perfect thing. And that's why shortwave is important, because the day that internet is shut off because they don't want us to communicate with each other, text messaging. What made the biggest demonstrations around the world lately? People text message each other, or Facebook message each other, or Twitter each other. So it's it's something that we got to be careful. It's what we think as of being rock solid isn't that solid. It takes very little to tip it off to something else. You know? What else do we have? What else do we have? Young Lee says listening to 3810 lower sideband. RJD of Dakota could just go out at any given reason, especially a national disaster. Absolutely. We think we live in a society that's just, perfect. Everything's always right, always perfect. Nothing can go wrong. We can never have any problems. But there's a false sense in there that you never know. There's a sense of security that's dangerous because, I see it even here. Some that are trying to, there's this conspiracy theorists, but some that are just like wanted to defy the government. And you look at that, and you look at it, and you're suddenly thrown back into the good old days of the old days of whatever happened that made world wars and stuff. And you're like, yep, easy to tip into another direction because of something suddenly. And that's why the governments with COVID and all of that are kind of really trying to take steps in a very careful way, because they're all going into a direction where you got to be careful, because If we get too hard, if we don't do it right, it could go bad, you know? Keegan says, at night I hear stations from Cuba, times under mixing with US stations. Yeah, I still remember when I was so surprised that I heard Radio Rebelde on AM. Just us, Texas. Nice to have you here. Everything stays the same until it doesn't. Yep. Yingli say, yeah, our world is more fragile than we think. We need to keep shortwave for that reason. One of that reason. Rufus Newt, Supreme Master TV as usual in 7570 kilohertz. Joe Tyson, nope. In the next few days, I should by the weekend. You guys should see the EQSLs coming. With all that happened here and the mess that I have, I didn't have time to go around with that. But you guys will get it. Don't worry. Keegan, 890 WLS Chicago, is interfered with occasionally by a station from Cuba. It's like 2 days ago, I was using my St. Jean HDR14. So I get 810, 1080, and 1210 as HD. And I noticed 1010 CFRB, when I turn it and I get WINS, it's an HD, but it can't lock. It tells me there's an HD pattern there, but it doesn't log because CFRB is interfering all the time. All right, JD Dakota, like nothing can happen here. I have been through a storm that turned off electricity and telephones for nearly a week. You know, it's like the ice storm we had here. It was crazy times. It's like, whoa, things are happening. So I'm going to keep those questions because we're going to continue on the questions of our friend here. And next Wednesday, we're gonna have those Wednesdays more as information for shortwave and beginners and stuff. So hey guys, 3 hours and 47 minutes. How about that? Wasn't too bad, eh? For a Wednesday evening. So take care, everybody. It's always fun to be here. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be back Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours Universal Time. Hope you enjoy. It's going to be cool. And we'll talk more. Tune the bands, do stuff. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. Listen to Shortwave. Write to that station. Let them know you're listening. And let's keep Shortwave alive through the internet. Who would have thought? Internet is maybe going to save Shortwave one day. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Love you all, okay? Bye-bye. I can't stop the show. For some reason.